la siri. Kikao cha sasa kinaongozwa na naibu spika Gladys Boss ambaye tayari yumo ndani ya ukumbi miongoni mwa wabunge wengine, lakini kwa sasa hakuna shughuli ambayo imeanza katika ukumbi wa bunge kwa sababu idadi ya wabunge 50 haijatimizwa. Kumbuka majukumu ya bunge la taifa ni pamoja na utunzi wa sheria, uwakilishi wa maeneo bunge mbalimbali na pia utathmini wa utendakazi wa serikali. Kukujuza tu ni kwamba kuna hoja kwenye ratiba ya bunge leo, kuna hoja kadhaa na miswada miwili ambayo inatarajiwa kushughulikiwa katika ukumbi wa bunge la taifa. Hoja ya kwanza ni hoja ya kuidhinisha ripoti ya kamati ya kilimo na ufugaji iliyochunguza mpango wa kufadhili unga wa mahindi ili kupunguza bei yake kwa mwaka wa kifedha wa 2022-2023. Kisha kuna hoja ya kuidhinisha ripoti ya kamati ya akaunti za hazina maalum iliyochunguza ripoti ya mkaguzi mkuu wa hesabu za serikali kuhusu taarifa za kifedha za hazina ya kufadhili biashara za wanawake, hazina ya malipo ya mapema ya kahawa, hazina ya akiba ya chakula, hazina ya usawazishaji, hazina ya kiufundi na uchukuzi, hazina ya utafiti wa kitaifa, hazina ya ustawi wa biashara za vijana, hazina ya uwezo na hazina ya mpango wa nyumba za watumishi wa umma. Hoja nyingine ni hoja ya kuidhinisha ripoti ya kamati ya utekelezaji wa maazimio ya bunge iliyochunguza kanuni za marekebisho ya sheria ya ushuru wa bidhaa. Aidha, kuna hoja ya kuzingatia ripoti ya ujumbe wa Kenya katika mkutano wa 146 wa muungano wa mabunge mbalimbali na mikutano mingine husika iliyoandaliwa huko Manama, Bahrain kuanzia tarehe 11 hadi 15 mwezi Machi mwaka huu. Nimemwona mbunge wa Gilgil ameingia ukumbini, Mheshimiwa Martha Wangari, na mtazamaji wa bunge wanaendelea kuingia mmoja baada ya mwingine, ila kwa sasa idadi ya kutosha ya wabunge haijatimizwa. Ndio maana hamna shughuli inayoendelea kwa sasa katika ukumbi wa bunge la taifa, na nilivyokujuza ni kwamba wabunge 50 wanahitajika kulingana na kanuni za bunge la taifa kati ya wabunge wote 349 ili shughuli ziweze kuanzishwa rasmi. Na mswada wa kwanza ulioratibishwa kwenye ratiba ya bunge la taifa leo alasiri ni mswada nambari 21 wa mwaka 2023 kuhusu ushirikishi wa udhibiti wa usalama wa chakula na lishe. Mswada huu unalenga kubuni mfumo wa kisheria wa kufanikisha ushirikishi wa taasisi za umma zinazohusika katika udhibiti wa usalama wa chakula na lishe ili kuanzisha afisi ya msimamizi wa usalama wa chakula na kubainisha jukumu la serikali za kaunti katika usalama wa chakula na lishe. Hatua hii inalenga kuhakikisha usambazaji wa chakula na lishe salama kwa Wakenya. Usalama wa chakula ni jukumu muhimu la serikali ya kitaifa na zile za kaunti katika kutimiza sharti la ulinzi wa watumiaji jinsi ilivyoratibishwa kwenye katiba. Mswada huu utahakikisha chakula kinazalishwa, kusambazwa na kutayarishwa kwa njia salama. Hatimaye wabunge wataendelea kushughulikia mswada wa marekebisho ya sheria mbalimbali ambao ni mswada nambari 60 wa mwaka 2022. Basi idadi ya kutosha imetimizwa na shughuli zinatarajiwa kuanza rasmi katika muda usiokuwa mrefu. Unatazama PBU, kitengo cha matangazo ya bunge. Jina langu ni Tilio Ismail Marco.
Honorable members, now we have quorum, we can proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, as you may have noticed, on Monday, 7th August 2023, the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, in partnership with Mzalendo Trust and other partners, held a youth bunge dialogue for 50 youths drawn from across the 47 counties at the County Hall mini chamber to launch a week-long activity. The event was aimed at strengthening dialogue mechanisms between youth and the youth leaders and youth in general. It was not worth noting that empowering young people as responsive actors of change in the governance and developing practical recommendations for legislative interventions are pivotal aspects that align with the broader goal of building a sustainable world. Consequently, honorable members, I wish to commend the Kenya Young Parliamentary Association for organizing such an important gathering. Indeed, such forums provide an invaluable platform for young people not to only engage in critical conversations about inclusive political participation, but also to foster discussions on how to equip the youth with skills to take part in nation building with a touch of parliamentary experience. I wish to commend the parliamentary staff for facilitating the event. Honorable members, I'm aware that the youth who participated in the Youth Bunge Dialogue developed various practical recommendations for legislative interventions worth the attention of the House. In this regard, I will be allowing the chairperson of the Kenya Youth Parliamentary Association to make a statement on this matter. The Young Parliamentarians Association was formed in the year 2004 in the 9th Parliament with a goal of building capacity and enhancing the participation of young leaders in the National Assembly. With the introduction of it in the Senate in 2013 due to the passing of the new constitution, the association expanded its scope and included young senators into its membership. Over the years, the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association has immensely contributed to building capacity and enhancing participation of young leaders in Parliament. Further, the association has provided platforms and fora that have continued to avail opportunities for budding young leaders to launch themselves into elective politics. Indeed, several parliamentarians in the 13th Parliament, including some of who served in previous parliaments since inception of the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, owe their election or nomination to the association. Honorable members, the affairs of the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association was managed by an executive committee that was elected at an annual general meeting of the members' associations. To this end, I wish to commend the attention of the House that its annual general meeting held on Wednesday, 2nd August, in the small dining Parliament buildings, members elected the following persons to the executive committee. The Honorable Gitonga Mukunji, chairperson. The Honorable Robert Basil, vice chairperson. The Honorable Amina Ugud, Secretary General. The Honorable Gideon Mayo, Treasurer. The Honorable Charles Nguna, Vice Treasurer. Senator Esther Okinyuri, MP and Senate Representative. The Honorable Maina Karobia, Youth Representative of the East African Legislative Assembly. The members who also appointed a member for Molo constituency, the Honorable CPA Kuria Kimani, as the association's patron. Honorable members, I congratulate the newly elected committee members and wish them the very best in their endeavors as they steer the association to greater heights. It's worth noting that the new executive committee comes at a time when the world is observing the International Youth Week that will culminate in the commemoration of the International Youth Day on Saturday, 12th August 2023, under the theme, Green Skills for Youth, working towards a sustainable community. Finally, honorable members, I wish to laud all the young members of the House who already enrolled as members of the association. I encourage those who have not done so to consider joining. the association and be part of the milestones that will be made in the 13th Parliament. I thank you, signed off by the Right Honourable Moses Wetangula, Speaker of the National Assembly. Thank you. And before I sit, I wish to recognize the presence of the County Assembly, the delegation from the County Assembly of Bungoma, comprising of 11 members of staff drawn from various directorates who are seated in the Speaker's Gallery. The delegation is attending a one-week training on the parliamentary practices and procedures at the Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training in Karen. They are most welcome to the National Assembly. Thank you. Honorable Joan Mukunji to say something about the association as a chair. Is he here?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. Point of order? Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll start by quoting Jack Welch, the chairman and the founder of General Electric, a company in the US. He said that before you're a leader, success is measured by personal growth. But when you become a leader, success is about growing others. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 43, I wish to make a statement on the International Youth Week 2023, which will culminate in commemoration of the International Youth Day on Saturday, 12th August 2023. Honorable Speaker, the International Youth Day is celebrated every year on the August 12th of every year. The day was first designated by the United Nations General Assembly in 1999 to raise awareness of issues affecting young people around the world. This year, International Youth Week is being held under the theme, Green Skills for Youth, working towards a sustainable global community. For more than 2 decades, the International Youth Day has been used to raise awareness about the issues impacting youth, such as education, healthcare, work prospects, and equal rights. It is also an excellent opportunity to recognize our own inner strength and potential, which may be realized through hard work and devotion. Honorable Speaker, while green skills are relevant and beneficial for individuals of all ages, they hold particular significance for younger generations. Young people can contribute to green transition for an extended period, making their engagement in developing their skills all more crucial. Honorable Speaker, as I present this statement on behalf of the Kenya Young Parliamentarian Association, I am pleased to inform to this esteemed House that KUIPA has taken a significant stride in the direction of empowering young individuals as part of the initiative of this week's festivity. In conjunction with pertinent stakeholders, specifically Mzalendo Trust, KUIPU organized a remarkable event dubbed Youth Bunge Dialogue at the County Hall Mini Chamber within the Parliament buildings on Monday to inaugurate the week-long observance. Honorable Speaker, we observed the favor and dedication of the young as they participated in insightful dialogues concerning urgent environmental matters and their role in shaping the future that is enduring. Their unwavering commitment to advancing skills related to environmental consciousness, promoting ecological sound practices, and fostering community engagement was truly, Honorable Speaker, noteworthy. The Youth Parliament, complete with its own speaker and assisted by our very able parliamentary staff, mirrored our setup and gave an opportunity to our young people to undergo the parliamentary experience. It is worth noting that the youth were divided in even committees based on issues affecting the youth of Kenya today. The issues were gender and youth political inclusion in committee, agriculture and food security, healthcare, cost of living, and climate change. The Youth Parliament identified challenges facing various sectors and made recommendations. Some may be worth to note in the House. Some of the recommendations by the committee included enactment of law to address an underrepresentation of the young people in government and leadership positions today. Establishment of Women Inclusion and Participation Fund to support young people, young women, creation of youth-friendly NHIF insurance packages, proposed establishment of Health Service Commission, reduction of application/renewal of cost of licenses and permits, and establishment of a collaborative capacity building and climate literacy programs. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I invite members to join me in commemorating the International Youth Week, and I thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say that the Kenya Young Parliamentarian Association is a platform to ensure that even members in this House are able to get their voices heard. We shall be bringing motions and bills, Honorable Speaker, in this House that are going to speak massively about the young people of this country. The issue of solving joblessness, solving the issue of depression, and Honorable Speaker, even what I would call the sexual health. Honorable Speaker, those are issues that are pertinent to our young people. And I, as a chairman, Honorable Speaker, and my very able committee, executive committee and members, we are going to be champions to ensure the young people of this country don't feel disappointed when they think about the 13th Parliament. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. And to everybody, we welcome you to continue celebrating the International Youth Week. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, before we proceed, I wish to recognize the presence of St. Patrick's Academy, Kapcherop, from Marakwet West constituency, Elgeyo Marakwet County. And Chief Mbogori Girls High School from Mara, Tharaka Nithi County. And also Kisaani Primary and Junior Secondary School from Yatta constituency, Machakos County. Also recognize the presence of Migingo Girls Secondary School, Nyando constituency from Kisumu County. Also wish to recognize Kageta Primary School, Mbeere South constituency, Embu County. Also recognize Karunge Secondary School from Mathioya constituency, Muranga County. I will give you a chance to say something, and then next is Honorable Ngeleche.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to begin with welcoming the young learners who are in the House today to observe the proceedings of the House. I particularly welcome Chief Bogori Girls Secondary School from Mara constituency in Tharaka Nithi County, and all the other schools that have been noticed and recognized by this House. This is a very important House, which their parents actually elected the leaders to sit in, and they, as young people, should aspire to one day also come over here as elected members or nominated members to represent the interests of their own people. With those remarks, I actually welcome them. As regards the Young Parliamentarians Association, I take this opportunity to congratulate the team that was elected, led by the Honorable Gitonga Mukunji. Gitonga Mukunji is an astute leader. I have known him ever since he was elected into Parliament. In fact, his political acronym is Mtu wa Kujituma. So he's a person who volunteers to serve, which is most important. In that committee, serious names like Amina Udgon and Senator Okenyuri have actually been mentioned, and the others. This shows the commitment the young people have for this parliament, and mine would be to invite all the young parliamentarians who are here, including Honorable Eric Wamumbi, Honorable Betty Maina, Honorable Babu Owino is across, so that they all come together, they are able to agitate for the welfare of the youth, and they are able to develop policies that are going to help this government in achieving aims and objectives of bringing up good people, good citizens who are responsible for what is going to happen. Maybe those of us who are in the golden age, led by seniors like Dr. Nyikal and Honorable Omar, and I would not be very far from that, we should also consider coming together so that we can agitate for our own issues, which possibly are peculiar to us and quite different from those of the youth. Therefore, we will give this serious thought so that we can come together and also agitate for what we believe is good for all those who are in the golden age. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Ngeleche. And let's keep it brief.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I also want to join my colleague in welcoming all the learners to this honorable house. Madam Speaker, it is very encouraging when learners visit this house. It tells you that they have a future and they have visions and ambition. Particularly, Madam Speaker, let me welcome St. Patrick's Kapcherop Primary School. Madam Speaker, that is the school in my constituency. That is where I come from. And it is sponsored by my church, that is Kapcherop, St. Patrick's Kapcherop Parish. Madam Speaker, that is also a school that has been posting exemplary performance in Elgeyo Marakwet County. And last year, Madam Speaker, they had about 25 students qualifying for national schools, Madam Speaker. And I commend them for the job well done, and I encourage them that they should also work hard because no human is limit. Madam Speaker, just to add just to add something small on the new elected young parliamentarians, I want just to encourage Honorable Member, the Chair, and other officials that integrity is key. Let us not show bad example to other honorable members or other leaders. As a young leader given opportunity, you should be able to show us that even young leaders can lead. And Madam Speaker, I'm proud because I was told the young parliamentarians are 45 years and below, and I'm the newest member in that club. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, for your point of order.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I want to inform Honorable Ngeleche that the age is 40 and below, not 45 and below, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Bukose, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Let him finish his point of order.
Madam Speaker, you know there are different cultures. All of us come from different cultures. In the Kalenjin community, our women are referred as our children in the family. So they never grow old. So Honorable Ngeleche is still a youth as far as we are concerned. So I think that should rest that.
Proceed. Give him the mic. Okay. Give him the mic. What's your point of order, Honorable David Kiplagat?
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to
to seek your indulgence whether we are safe in this house and the presence of this house, given that today at around 2, I left my phone to charge. May I finish? I left my phone to charge at the lobby, but I found out that the phone was left and the charger has been taken away. So I want to maybe to seek your indulgence whether we are actually safe to leave our gadgets wherever we are in this parliament.
Thank you.
The phone is there is no charger.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable DK, you can take your seat, please. Honorable David Kiplagat, please take your seat. Okay, let's go to the next order. Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Yes, what's your point of order? Honorable Babu Owino, Honorable Babu Owino, you're out of order. You're out of order. You don't shout at me. You Which order? No. Give me. That is order number what? 89. Is it order? Honorable Babu Owino, you better withdraw your remarks. Where is he? Honorable Babu Owino, withdraw your remarks. Honorable Babu Owino, you're out of order. Honorable Kiplagat, Honorable Kiplagat, Honorable DK, you're also out of order. Honorable DK, you are also out of order. You let me deal with it. I'm giving you one last warning, Honorable Babu Owino. Let's proceed to the next order. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there's an issue. I understand you've read a list of KYPA officials, and as we've always understood, that we go through a bipartisan manner, and we've not agreed. We have a situation where we have an interim officials, and we've not finalized. The Azimio coalition is about to have a meeting to agree on some of these members. The same thing that the UDA, the Kenya Kwanza side is doing, so that we can be able to do as we've always done previously, as we've done today with the CPA. So, Honorable Speaker, we would request that you stand down on that list that you've read until the KYPA team is able to meet and discuss and present to you the leadership of KYPA. I believe that's the issue that the Azimio is kindly requesting, that allow us to do that. And I know even the interim chair, because he's interim, we've not confirmed him. Gitomga Mokonji on that side. Kindly allow, as a chair, you will lead the entire team. Allow KYPA to present its members so that you can present a list that we have agreed upon as KYPA members. That's all we're asking for, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable members, give me a drink for Babu Owino. Honorable Babu Owino, I will read for you standing order number 107 and 107A. If a member commits an act of disorderly conduct or creates disorder, or knowingly raises a false point of order, or unnecessarily interrupts proceedings, the Speaker may call a member whose conduct is disorderly to order that I caution the member, which I've cautioned you, or order the member to withdraw from the precincts of the assembly for a maximum of 4 days. Yeah, please, Sergeant at Arms. Yes. So you, Sergeant at Arms, can you escort him out? Escort him out. Yeah. So you do not come to the precincts of Parliament for 4 days. Please take him out, Sergeant at Arms. Escort him, please. Honorable Kamket, allow him to go. I think on the point of order that you raised, Honorable Member, about the KYPA, because this is a statement of the Speaker, what you can do is write to the Speaker. Then the Speaker will be able to come and rule on it here at the House. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Wandai?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, I've been sitting here watching in consternation the unfolding scenario. But I think it behoves us as a House, of course, to be a little bit more orderly, especially at this time, you know, when we are trying to engage in some national dialogue. I don't think it is the right time for us, Madam Speaker, to be creating rifts which can be avoided. Honorable Badagala, kindly just allow me to speak. You know, I'm a little bit better placed to understand what I'm talking about. Madam Speaker, I think taking a cue from my deputy minority whip, I also, of course, I appreciate the fact that you have read a communication from the Speaker, which of course can't be challenged. But I want us going forward, because it was only last week when I stood here and acknowledged the new it's called what? KYPA leadership. Of course, at that time, I didn't have the benefit of understanding what had transpired. Later on, of course, I came to learn that there was some controversy surrounding the election. But I think, even though I'm not a young person personally, I don't fall in that category of young members of Parliament. But I think going forward, and actually following what we did today here, when we were electing the executive committee or council of the CPA, we need to encourage a spirit of consultation, inculcate a culture of engagement, so that such issues don't arise. Because it still doesn't matter who becomes the chairman or secretary general of KYOPA, or whatever it is, or KYOPA, or KYPA, sorry. It's KYPA. Madam Speaker, what matters is the process. And that process can actually create unity or create disunity. So I want to plead with you. I want to plead with you that in the spirit of national dialogue, that you advise the Speaker to relook at the issue with a view to providing guidance on how these young members can move together. Because I'll be happy to have Honorable Gitonga lead a united KYPA. That will be the best thing to happen for this house, to this house. Honorable Gitonga, who I've got no doubt about his ability and integrity, just lead a united KYPA. And we shall support you as leadership and as old members. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deputy Majority Leader. Okay, what's your point of order, Honorable Junet?
Thank you very much, Speaker.
Let's give Honorable Junet had a point of order.
Honorable Speaker, I'm on a point of order.
Ah, okay.
Honorable Speaker, while I do not want to get involved in that discussion about KYPA, but I want to say the minority leader should have taken exceptions to the behavior that was displayed in this house. This house is an honorable house. And as members of Parliament, we must always discharge our duties with honor. The very many young people today who are on holiday, school children who come to this house, and they look at us as leaders, and they have come here basically to learn leadership. What we display in this house and what we say is something that is taken by the young people. think all of us should condemn what the Honorable Baba Wino did. And I expect our minority leader to act tough on membership like that. If it happened this side, we would act tough. And I've acted tough on a matter that happened some time ago with one of our members. So we would expect that we rein down our members so that this house is respect. The speaker is the symbol of unity. And that's why we rise and stand when the speaker comes in and goes out, because of respect and awe for the speaker's chair. If at any one time we go down in this house and don't respect the speaker, then we will not have a house. And this house will not be as dignified and honorable, as august as it's supposed to be. So I want to request all of us, whatever we do, but we must always respect the speaker as the ultimate authority and symbol of authority in this house. So I want to ask you, members, that we should never see this. And as coalitions, let's rein on our members when something like that happens, so that this house, for prosperity and for the just government of the people, will remain an honorable house. I thank you. I thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you, Honorable
What's your point of order, Honorable Jeanette?
Madam Speaker, first I want to also weigh into the matter of the KYPA. Madam Speaker, this KYPA has been in existence for some time now. Even last parliament it was there. Madam Speaker, you see in this house, practices and traditions almost become part of the standing orders, the way parliament does things. So Madam Speaker, if in the last parliament members were from both sides in the leadership of KYPA, then it behoves all of us to take that into account and make sure that all parties or all coalitions are represented. And secondly, I want to tell members here that KYPA is a caucus. It's not a committee of parliament. It's just a caucus. People who sat outside there in the
Jeanette,
lobby.
I already pronounced myself.
I know, Madam Speaker.
I said because of communication from the
Yeah, but Madam Speaker, there was a communication here by the Speaker on CPA the other day. But when we went to the House Business Committee, the Speaker again presented the matter, and there was an agreement on how to conduct that matter. So I'm urging you as the Speaker now that you need to look into this matter, Madam Speaker, that we cannot go, otherwise, if we devolve this to the youth, the problems of segregation from the top now to the youth, Madam Speaker, then Mukunji will become a useless president when he becomes a president. I am foreseeing him becoming a president, but not when I am around.
Yeah, Honorable
Thank you, Madam
Jeanette,
Speaker.
I think, honorable members, we've already pronounced ourselves on the, I've already pronounced myself on this matter. I have ruled that you will write a letter, the leader, the majority leader will write a letter to the Speaker raising those concerns. Then the Speaker can then make a decision on it. Yeah, let's move to the next order. I said minority.
Order number 4, petitions.
Going to the next order, you've announced petitions. Honorable members, Article 119 of the Constitution accords any person the right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority. Further, Standing Order 2252B requires that the Speaker to report to the House any petition other than those presented by a member. Honorable members, in this regard, I wish to report to the House that my office has received a petition from the Center of Accountability, Reform and Democracy calling for delimitation of electoral units. The petitioner states that on 9th January 2012, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, published the revised preliminary report relating to the limitation of boundaries of constituencies and wards, which were presented to the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on the same date. The petitioners further state that after considering the recommendations by Parliament on its revised preliminary report, the IEBC published the National Assembly Constituencies and County Assembly Wards Order of 2012, dated 6th March 2012, published in the Kenya Gazette as legal notice number 14 of 2012. The Gazette informs the present constituencies and wards in place. The petitioners appreciate the following that following the publication of the final report, the National Assembly, Constituency and County Assembly Wards Order number of 2012, complaints were raised regarding the manner in which the 80 extra constituencies and the 1,450 county assembly wards were created, their distribution, their name, boundaries, and areas of allocation. The petitioners note that in accordance with the provisions of Article 89(2) of the Constitution, the next review of the boundaries and constituencies and wards must be undertaken and concluded not later than March 2024. Honorable members, the petitioners are worried that Parliament has not developed a framework for the creation of and determination of sub-locations that takes into account the obligation of IEBC to progressively achieve population parity. Honorable members, the petitioners aver that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has been dysfunctional since August 2022 general elections. The commission is presently in limbo pending the recruitment of new commissioners, thus no substantive constitutional functions can therefore be discharged by the commission. Honorable members, the petitioners therefore pray that the National Assembly engages the relevant authorities and stakeholders to take a more proactive role to ensure the review of the electoral units is carried out in a constitutionally compliant manner, including meeting the deadline established under Article 89(2) of the Constitution. Honorable members, having determined that the matters raised by the petitioner are well within the authority of this House, and further, that the matters raised in the petition are not pending before any court of law, constitutional body, or legal body, I hereby commit the petition to the Public Petitions Committee for consideration pursuant to Standing Order 208A. The committee is required to consider the petition and report to its finding to the House and to the petitioner in accordance with Standing Order 2272. Thank you, and it's signed by the Right Honorable the Speaker, Moses Wetangula. Thank you. Okay, I think there's another petition by the Honorable Adam Skipsanai, member for Keyo North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I wish to present this public petition regarding human-wildlife conflict in Keyo North constituency. I, the undersigned, on behalf of the residents of Keyo North constituency, draw the attention of the House to the following. That in the recent past, residents of Rimoi sub-location, Kiptuilong, and Kamogich location of Tambach Ward, Chegilet, and Kabulwa sub-locations, and Keyo location of Msoa Ward in Keyo North constituency have experienced increased cases of invasion and attacks by elephants, resulting in loss of lives, livestock, destruction of crops, and properties in the said areas. That most areas of Msoa and Tambach wards in Keyo North constituency, and in particular schools and public institutions bordering Rimoi Game Reserve, remain unfenced, hence making it easier for wild animals to stray out of the reserve. That the inaction by Kenya Wildlife Service, and in particular the failure or delay in responding to distress calls from residents, has been worrying. That despite numerous cases of human-wildlife conflict having been reported to the relevant authorities, the victims affected are yet to be compensated. That all efforts to resolve the matter has been futile, and that the matter in respect of which this petition is made is not pending before any court of law or constitution or any legal body. Therefore, your humble petitioner, Madam Speaker, prays that the National Assembly, through the Public Petition Committee, ensures the following. One, ensure that the government intervene to cause Kenya Wildlife Service and other agencies to expeditiously erect perimeter fence along the unfenced area bordering, and in particular Rimoi sub-location, Kiptuilong, Kamogich, locations of Tambach Ward, Chegilet, and Kabulwa sub-locations, and Keyo location of Msoa Ward in Keyo North constituency. Secondly, recommends that the government increases the number of Kenya Wildlife Service posts or camps
in the affected human-wildlife conflict areas bordering the reserve for efficient surveillance and prompt response to address calls on stray wildlife to human settlement. Thirdly, recommends that the policy regarding human-wildlife conflict is effected appropriately, and in particular, expeditious and timely compensation of victims and their families for loss of life, livestock, destruction of property, and crops. Fourth, recommends that Kenya Wildlife Service undertake corporate social responsibility to communities around the reserve, and in particular through drilling and renovation of schools, drilling of boreholes, renovation of schools, scholarships, job opportunities, among others. Fifth is makes any other recommendation or action it deems fit in addressing the plight of the petitioner. And your petitioners will ever pray. Presented by Honorable Adam Skipsanai, MP for Keyo North. Madam Speaker, just to add on that, just 2 minutes or one. Madam Speaker, what the petitioners are asking is just justice. My people are requesting for justice because their land was taken back 40 years ago by government without compensation. We are asking for compensation, job opportunity.
Honorable Member, you will have a chance to ventilate that because it's being marked to the Public Petitions Committee. Thank you. Next. Next is the Honorable, Owen Baya, yes. Your petition.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to present a petition number 44 of 2023 regarding enhancement of house allowances for teachers working and residing within Kilifi Municipality. I, the undersigned, on behalf of the teachers of both secondary and primary schools residing in Kilifi Municipality, draw the attention of the House to the following. That through a Kenya Gazette notice dated 19th March 2019, Kilifi Town was conferred to the status of municipality, which led to the enhancement of house allowance for civil servants. The teachers under the permanent and pensionable terms are paid house allowance every month by the Teachers Service Commission based on the teacher's job group, working conditions, and status of town and geographical area. That the Salaries and Remuneration Commission issued an enhanced house allowance classification of teachers' workstation within municipalities, whereby those residing in major towns receive a higher pay for house allowances so as to cushion them from the high cost of living and the high cost of housing. That the teachers working and residing within Kilifi Municipality allegedly feel discriminated and that their rights and fundamental freedoms infringed as prescribed by Article 27 of the Constitution of Kenya. The teachers in Kilifi Town are not paid a commensurate allowance as those residing in major towns, hence seeking for house accommodation at the outskirts of Kilifi Town. The teachers residing and working within Kilifi Municipality experience very high cost of living. The cost of rental houses and basic commodities is high compared to the monthly allowances that they are paid, forcing them to seek affordable houses in the outskirts of the town, far away from schools in which they teach. That the above said situation has strained them financially in regard to cost of transport, insecurity, service delivery, accessibility to markets and shops and other social amenities. That the matter presented in this petition is not pending before any court of law or any constitutional or legal body. Therefore, your humble petitioners pray that the National Assembly, through the Public Petitions Committee, 1, inquire into the living conditions of teachers working and residing within Kilifi Municipality, and recommend that teachers in both secondary and primary school within the Kilifi Municipality are facilitated to receive enhanced house allowances, and make any other recommendations or action it deems fit in addressing the plight of the petitioners. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Allow half an hour of debate on those three petitions. I think I'll give the first chance to Peter Salasia, member for Mumias East. Let's hold on a minute. Let him make his point of order.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm standing on point of order number 227-2 regarding management of public petitions. Madam Speaker, the relevant standing order reads, and I quote, "Whenever a petition is committed to the Public Petitions Committee, the committee shall within 90 calendar days of committal respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner or petitioners and laid on the table of the House." Madam Speaker, based on that experience and having the petitions under the Public Petitions Committee, we would like to assess whether the committee could process the petitions within the stipulated time of 90 days. And Madam Speaker, it is also a fact that the Public Petitions Committee, by its nature of seeking to address the plight of petitioners, plays an oversight role on the executive. So structurally, it is actually therefore better placed to be placed within the relevant committees. We are therefore asking you, Madam Speaker, to guide this House on the manner on which the processing of petitions as provided for in the standing orders, and in particular in regard to admissibility, conveyance and presentations, and finally whether there is need to refer to the relevant committees for expeditious and timely processing of the petitions. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I think we shall have that matter deliberated at the House and Rules Committee procedure. Thank you. Proceed, Honorable Selassie. You are commenting on the petition.
Speaker, I had prepared to comment on another matter, so you allow me to comment on the other one coming, not on this petition. Thank you.
All right, sawa sawa. The Honorable Member for Sigor. Yeah, Peter. Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make a comment on the petition. I want to comment on the petition by the Honorable Adams Kipsanai, the MP for Keyo North, on the human-wildlife conflict. I want to say that this is a big challenge, and I want to say this in relation to Sigor constituency and West Pokot Central in particular, that we have had issues, major issues of human-wildlife conflict, particularly emanating from elephants. And when the Honorable Member mentioned about Rimoi in his constituency, I want to believe it is the same corridor that elephants are moving all the way from Kacheliba through Turkana South, Pokot Central, I think Tiati, Marakwet East to Rimoi. And as they move like that, they destroy crops and people's property. Around an area called Cheptulel, these elephants have destroyed a lot of crops like mangoes. They have also destroyed some maize. And the KWS are very slow in responding to this. And again, compensation to those who have even filled the necessary documents so as to be compensated from the human-wildlife conflict problem have taken forever. And I think people are even giving up, that they don't think that even when they fill those documents, they will be compensated. So I want to say that since KWS, the Kenya Wildlife Service personnel, are few, I would suggest that they should think of engaging community conservancies so that they can promptly respond in cases where elephants and other wildlife are in conflict with human beings in terms of destroying their crops and property. So I want to support this petition and say that the Public Petitions Committee looks at this seriously and especially fast-tracks compensation of people who are due to be paid from the problems they have encountered with the wildlife. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, I want to support that petition by Honorable Adams. Thank you very much.
First give Honorable Ruben Kiberek of Mogotio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to also take this moment to support the petition by Adams Kipsanai because it's a similar case in my constituency where my people have been terrorized by elephants. For many years, they've been good farmers, but the elephants have made them to be more poorer because they no longer farm because the elephant will invade their farms. Those whose farms were invaded have not been compensated. The KWS have come, take their details, but it takes centuries for them to be compensated. Similarly, Madam Speaker, in Baringo, we have a case of snake bites, which a lot of people have been victims of, and it takes a lot of, it's more tedious to be compensated when it comes to snake bites. So we want to support that petition and make sure that those who are attacked by the snakes and leopards and cheetahs and elephants are compensated. Madam Speaker, we also have a serious case in Lake Bogoria where people were affected from Lake Bogoria when the formation of the reserve, and up to now they have not been compensated. And we want to ask the petition committee to look up to this issue. We'll be going to them and giving them more details so that they can help fast track in helping Kenyans from suffering from historical injustices by the government for not compensating them for what they have gone through and what they are still going through. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
The Honourable Member for Chibalungu.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, as I stand to contribute on the motion by Honorable Kipsanai, the petition by the Honorable Member Kipsanai, I would want to make the House understand that Chepalungu constituency borders Masai Mara to the south. Recently, in the past 2 weeks and waking up to this morning, my constituents along the same borderline, Madam Speaker, are greatly actually affected by the same. And this is to support the petition and to request the committee that they take their time to give proper recommendation so that, as announced, we ensure that the victims are compensated as required because our people are suffering, and wildlife personnel, the government personnel who are there, are reluctant to take their work seriously. I am in particular to the villages neighboring Masai Mara, like Kabalwa village, that this morning lost livestock to an amount of 10 cows and sheep belonging to a young man called Godfrey from Lugumek. He's been calling me since morning, requesting me to give a call to the wildlife personnel. To no avail, Madam Speaker. This petition, I want to believe that is going to give the proper recommendation that is required so that such cases are looked into and a proper answer is given to them. Madam Speaker, I stand to support the petition by Honorable Kipsanai. Thank you.
Member for Endebess.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to this. Honorable Speaker, the petition by Honorable Kipsanai, member for Keyo North, on Rimoi National Park is a very timely petition. And for some of us who have national parks within our constituency, in Endebess we have the Mount Elgon National Park, which is within our area. And more often, Madam Speaker, when my people who are farming in Kimodon Forest, when they go to do their farming activity, many of their crops have been eaten by the elephants, the monkeys, and the calopus monkeys, plus also these warthogs. So, Madam Speaker, unfortunately, many of people who are even within Rimoi, they get injuries or they are killed by elephants, which similarly happen to most of us who have national parks. But unfortunately, the Kenya Wildlife Compensation Scheme has not been open, it has not been forthcoming, and it is, I think it is shrouded in a lot of I would say, in a lot of secrecy and maybe shrouded with corruption. I want the committee, Madam Speaker, when the Kenya Wildlife Service appears before them, they should be able to table a report detailing the compensations that have occurred following the wildlife-human conflict within the various areas, even for the last 1 or 2 years, and indicate in which areas. And I would be happy to see that Mount Elgon National Park, specifically, Endebess constituency, there are people who are compensated, or when are they going to be compensated? Because many of them have been waiting for compensation and even died without compensation. They have spent money being treated without compensation, and I think this is a very sad situation. In the Act, the Wildlife Act 2016, we provided that there shall be compensation for those who are injured and even for the crops. So, Madam Speaker, I think the Petitions Committee should be able to assist this House and the Kenyan public at large. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kisii County, Donya Doris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In developing countries, we keep talking of escalating poverty, yet we know well of things that attribute to this, more especially when the crops are raided on. Like in Kisii, the constituency for Honorable Zahir Janda, I don't know if I pronounced that name well, Honorable Janda, there are so many monkeys. While I was having my programs at Egesa FM, a radio station, women could call in and say how there is a total menace from these monkeys. Till today, they have not seen any light. They've not been assisted. The monkeys even carry the babies. You see, like in Kisii, we love going to the shambas. You carry your children. You are now taking care of the children. The monkeys are there. You've planted your maize, and they love maize very much. The monkeys are there. No one is helping. No, we are talking of bringing fertilizers. Yes, the government is helping. But you bring in the fertilizer, you've solved that issue, and the major issue of the monkeys has not been solved. Where is Kenya Wildlife? They pop in when you've killed the elephants, the lions. That's when they say, oh, you are doing injustices to the wildlife. Yet when it comes to human beings, they don't even bother. They don't care. So we hope that we will not bring a similar topic of talking of how these wild animals are raiding our crops. We repeat the same topic. Solution to this, we should have reporting offices where these issues are. Members go and report, and then we see what they are doing. We don't want to see the Kenya Wildlife members behaving like, from my case, I can say police officers. When you report, they take long to come to the place where the incident has been reported. Like I saw another video going around. This area has been attacked. The police officers are passing by. They can't help their fellow police officers. Now you ask yourself, if your police officer can't help a fellow police officer, how will the police officers even help the common Wanjiko? So I support this petition, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll close the debate, but last I want to give a member for Garissa Township.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And contributing to this petition, I want to say that there is this tendency that wildlife is more important than some of our livestock. As a pastoralist, whenever a livestock is killed by a wild animal, they don't see that as an issue. Again, they have decided, and these wild animals destroy our livelihoods in terms of being a farming community as well. Whenever our farms are destroyed by certain kind of wild animals, KWS has decided that they will only compensate certain crops that are destroyed by certain animals. For example, we have monkeys that destroy our farms, but KWS compensation program, anything destroyed by monkeys is not taken into consideration. And that is one of the most notorious destroyers of our crops. Again, we have people who are killed, young people, children who are killed by wild animals. For example, in my constituency, there are people who are a young kid was killed by a hyena more than 5 years ago, and yet KWS has not taken the initiative to compensate them. So in supporting this petition, I expect the petition committee to consider that certain the animals that are in KWS programs that they don't compensate should be included into that program. Again, when our livestock goes into any park, KWS rounds them up. But when they kill that, an animal kills, a wild animal kills that livestock animal, then the KWS does not compensate them for that. In that, I support the petition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hereby commit the 3 petitions to the Public Petitions Committee for consideration pursuant to Standing Order 208A. The committee is required to consider the petition and report its findings to the House and to the petitioner in accordance with Standing Order 2272. Thank you. Go to the next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity to lay the papers. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, 10th August 2023. 1. Reports of the Auditor General of Financial Statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 30th June 2022 and the certificates therein: Kongoni Technical and Vocational College, Mungatsi Technical and Vocational College, Bungoma North Technical and Vocational College, Mumias West Technical and Vocational College, St. Augustine Teachers Training College, Eregi, Wanga Technical and Vocational College, and Musakasa Technical Training Institute. 2. Reports of the Auditor General Financial Statements in respect of the following constituencies for the year ended 30th June 2022 and the certificates therein: Butula, Malava, Kathiani, Mathioya, Mumias West, Teso South, and Machakos Town. I thank you and I beg to lay, Honorable Speaker.
Next order. Okay, there is another, I'm told there is another papers from the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Social Protection.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, 10 August 2023. Report of the Departmental Committee on Social Protection on its consideration of the National Youth Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Chairperson of the Public Petitions Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have some paper to lay before the House, but before I do that, I ask for your indulgence to appreciate the Speaker for the Speaker and the leadership of the House, the Majority Leader, Mr. Speaker, for unlocking some challenges we had in our committee where members of the executive thought the Public Petitions Committee was just another Kiwapo caucus in this House, and they never honored invitations to the committee. But from last week, when the Speaker took the initiative to inform the executive about the function of the Public Petitions Committee, we've seen a lot of change, and that's why papers, reports will be flowing to the House every week in response to petitions from members. Secondly, I would want to urge members to have patience. Any petition from any member we have tried and we've done it, going to the constituency, seeing the issues in person, and consulting with the member and the members of the public on the best way forward to solve the problem before we give our report. And the deputy minority leader is a witness to that. We were in his constituency a week ago with a huge number, with a big number of quorum, and we did a good job, and we spent the whole day with him.
Honorable member for the Tui East and the chair for petitions, the matter that you are raising and you are explaining is important. However, the permission that you have been given is only to lay papers. So another time can be scheduled for that, but not at this time. So please lay the paper.
I stand guided, Madam Speaker. I had requested for indulgence before you came in, but I stand guided. So, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 10th August 2023. Report on the Public Petition Committee on its consideration of public petition number 010 of 2022 by Mr. Victor Okur regarding amendment of the Constitution to establish the offices of the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and official leader of the opposition. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Petitions, next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Kelly. The Honorable Kenei. Thank you very much. The Honorable Beatrice Kemei.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to give notice of the following motion. That aware that the Consumer Protection Act 2012 provides for the protection of the consumer and prevention of unfair trade practices in consumer transactions in line with Article 46 of the Constitution, further aware that there exist unregulated money lenders, commonly referred to as Shylocks, that provide loans outside the scope of formal financial institutions, noting that with the repeal of the Money Lenders Act in 1984, unscrupulous business people have exploited the loopholes to the detrimental of the general public.
Sorry for interruption. Is the Honorable Majority Whip on a point of order? You are not on a point of order? So, Majority Whip. You may proceed, Honorable Kemei.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I don't know if to start again. Okay, let me continue. Concerned that these lenders operate outside of the formal financial sector and as such engage in predatory practices such as high interest rates, hidden fees, unclear terms and conditions, and aggressive loan recovery methods. Further concerned that the absence of clear and enforceable regulations is untenable and requires immediate remedy, recognizing that the effects of these unregulated operations extend beyond financial implications, but are also social and emotional, with reports of depression, family breakups, and even instances of suicide by borrowers due to excessive penalties and harsh recovery methods. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the government, through the National Treasury and Economic Planning, develops a framework to regulate unlicensed money lenders to promote a fair and sustainable financial system. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Beatrice Kemei. I see a point of order from the Honorable Samuel Chepkonga, member for Enabkoi. What's out of order?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 51 as read together with Standing Order 89. The import of this, Madam Speaker, is that there was a motion that I moved on the 25th of July 2023 on the consideration of the excise duty accessible goods management system amendment regulation 2023. Madam Speaker, it has since come to our attention that there is a court matter which has been filed by the Law Society of Kenya, and that matter, they have obtained stay orders as against Parliament and the Kenya Revenue Authority. So the import of this, Madam Speaker, is that this matter has now become sub judice under Standing Order number 89. And as you know, Madam Speaker, it will be superfluous if this motion is passed by the House when there is already an active case that is ongoing in court. There are stay orders. Two, Madam Speaker, this court cannot act in vain. And we have this restraint principle between the legislature and the judiciary, that when a matter is pending before the judiciary and orders have been granted, the legislature would always give first preference for that matter to be concluded before it pronounces itself on this motion. So in that regard, Madam Speaker, I wish to withdraw this motion pursuant to Standing Order number 51 as read together with Standing Order 89 on sub judice. I wish to thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chepkonga. The withdrawal is granted. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
The Honorable Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'd like to issue a general statement on the passing of the Honorable Elijah Osiemo, who was the majority leader for Nyamira County and MCA for Nyamaya Ward, West Mogirango, Nyamira County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 43, subsection 1, I wish to make a general statement regarding the untimely passing on of Honorable Elijah Osiemo, the MCA for Nyamaya Ward and leader of Majority Party in the County Assembly of Nyamira. Honorable Speaker, it is with this deep shock that we learned of the untimely demise of my friend Honorable Elijah Osiemo in Nyamira County through a tragic road accident that occurred on Monday, 7th August 2023, along the Maimahio Naivasha Road. Honorable Speaker, the passing on of Honorable Osiemo has robbed the people of Nyamira County, a promising young leader whose contribution to the county and the whole country at large during his short life will forever be treasured. Having been elected to the County Assembly for the first time in 2022, just last year like now, Honorable Elijah showed a lot of commitment towards service delivery to the people of Nyamaya Ward and the entire county and the country at large. His dutifulness made him stand out among his peers, therefore earning him admiration that elevated him to the leader of Majority Party in the County Assembly of Nyamira. Honorable Speaker, the departed colleague was a servant leader who demonstrated wholehearted dedication to duty and always reached out to elected national leaders from the county to chart the course for bettering the welfare of residents of Nyamira County. Sadly, he met his untimely demise while traveling to Nairobi for official duties. Honorable Speaker, I therefore express my heartfelt condolences to the family of the late, the entire fraternity of Nyamira County Assembly, his friends, his young family, and the county at large for the loss of a budding, transformative leader. I also would like to send my prayers to the Honorable Duke Masira, the MCA for Township Ward and Deputy Majority Leader, the Honorable Priscilla Nyachichi, nominated MCA, and the accompanying staff, the driver Bernard Atandi, who suffered in the accident, who suffered injuries from the accident, and wish them quick recovery. May the soul of the late Honorable Elijah Osiemo rest in eternal peace. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I see interest from several members to make a comment on this statement. But before I do so, before I give a chance to the honorable members, let me first of all acknowledge the following schools that are seated in the public gallery this afternoon. St. Patrick's Academy, Kapterop, from Marakwet County, Elgeyo Marakwet. Let me take that again. St. Patrick's Academy, Kapterop, Marakwet West Constituency, Elgeyo Marakwet County. Chief Bongori Girls High School, Maara Constituency, Tharaka Nithi County. Kisaani Primary School, Junior Secondary School, Yatta Machakos County. Migongo Nyando Constituency, Kisumu County. Kangeta Primary School, Mbere South Constituency, Embu County. Burenge Secondary School, Madhyoya Constituency, Murang'a County. Honorable members, we have two more also seated at the public gallery. Kadhanganchini Primary School, Tharaka Constituency, Tharaka Nithi County. And finally, Chononi Primary School, this must be Chondoni Primary School, Kitui West Constituency, Kitui County. You are welcome to the National Assembly. Honorable members, I would like to give the first opportunity to the Honorable Silvana Sosoro, member for South Mugirango.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also join my colleague, Honorable Irene Mayaka, in condoling with the family of Honorable Elijah Osiemo, a young man who was serving as the majority leader of the Nyamira County Assembly. Honorable Speaker, yesterday I took time to visit the survivors of the accident, and that is the Honorable Duke and Honorable Priscilla, as they recuperate in one of the Nairobi hospitals here. And the stories they were giving us, Honorable Speaker, were very chilling and really not interesting to hear. How the accident occurred and how that thing happened. You know, the road carnage thing is quite a disaster in this country. It has actually claimed a leader in his 30s. And Honorable Speaker, you'll notice that if Honorable Elijah Osiemo was given an opportunity to serve as a majority leader of a county assembly at that very tender age, that in itself described the kind of a person he was. Quite industrious, you know, who went out of his way. He has no history, you know, of ancestral leadership. He actually stood out from his village and campaigned against all odds without resources and became an MCA. And then eventually he campaigned within the assembly unanimously, again without resources and without serious backing, and it was given from the majority side. He was able to be voted in by his colleagues as the majority leader. In fact, Honorable Speaker, it will interest you to know that even when he was traveling, he actually got boarded in a vehicle of a colleague, a nominated MCA. He did not even use his official vehicle. He wasn't using his official vehicle to Nairobi. I mean, moving around with his colleagues, because there were three in the vehicle, of course, plus the driver, now four, they traveled in one vehicle together. And it was quite unfortunate that when they arrived close to Maimahio, Honorable Speaker, they hit a motorcycle that was ahead of them. And that, of course, got into the road without looking at the road signs and such. And this, of course, confused the driver because the motorcycle was carrying charcoal. And, of course, the charcoal blew out, of course, the dust, made the scene dark. The driver veered off the road and, you know, got to the ditch. Quite unfortunate that we lost him. And the stories we hear, Honorable Speaker, is that, of course, unfortunately, he did not belt up when he got into the vehicle.
And it's through that scene that from where he was seated, just beneath the driver, it was pushed towards the front side where the driver was by that very speed of the impact of the fall. And it's quite unfortunate when you look at the kids, very young kids, 3 kids, all below 10 years of age, have been left fatherless. And the people of Nyamaiya Ward, of course, they had actually started with the programs of coming up with development within the Nyamaiya Ward. They've just lost a serious leader, very focused. Honorable Speaker, so I wish the family, I pass my heartfelt condolences to the family, and also wish Honorable Duke, the Deputy Majority Leader, quick recovery, and Honorable Priscilla, who got injured at the spinal cord, a bit of a quick recovery also. And may Honorable Elijah's soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Yusuf Hassan, member for Kamukunji. The Honorable Donya Doris, member for Kisii County.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, it's a dark month for the people of Nyamira County. As Honorable Osoro has explained, yes, the 4 leaders were in the same car. When this thing went on social media, the first thing I learned is the complaints that the people were making. How come all the 3 MCAs in one vehicle? These, Madam Speaker, sometimes now, it gives us a platform to even discuss about the welfare of our members of county assemblies. You realize, Madam Speaker, they are the ones who are very, very close to the people in the village. They wake up in the morning, they have breakfast with them, then they start. Now I'm explaining why, when someone was questioning that why are those members in one vehicle, probably they wanted to even save. The people will come to their homes even say, oh, my cow needs semen, I'm going for honeymoon, we have a wedding, my children are going to school, my wife is admitted in hospital, she's giving birth. And these leaders, we are even in that cadre. We sympathize and we contribute. So we should not judge people when maybe even they are saving to help. This young man, the late majority leader, Elijah Osiemo, you look at the family, Madam Speaker, and you just wonder. The only thing I can do to the families who are affected is to pray for them, God to give them courage, God to give them love, because it is something that it's very sad. When we use the narrow route, Madam Speaker, there are so many things that happen on that road. From the animals passing by, from, of course, the borders, you just want to be careful so that you reach where you're going. Even if the border rider is on the wrong side, Madam Speaker, and you hit the border, I can tell you for free, your car will be burnt down, and nobody will question that the rider was on the wrong side. They will always say you are the driver and you have the eyes. So I stand to mourn with our good people. I border Nyamira. Our border entry is Keroka town, a good town where most young, beautiful ladies came from in the ages of 1990s. And Madam Speaker, by the way, I come from that town, Keroka town. I don't think people don't know Keroka town the way we know Nyeri town, Sotiki town, Busia, Homa Bay town, Migori town. Now Nyamira borders, why I'm grieving with the people of Nyamira is because the other side, the left side, when you're coming from Nairobi is Nyamira, then the other side is Keroka. So this is the same place, same people. And now why I'm saying these stories, because I want the people of Nyamira County who are watching to smile. Because they've mourned. Now it's time they look and give a smile, because sometimes that smile itself is food. Sorry to the people of Nyamira County and Honorable Irene Mayaka. Thank you for bringing up this. We stand with our good people of Nyamira County, and I can see through a text message, our governor from Kisii County has sent his condolences, and our dear Senator Honorable Richard Onyonka. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The last one, honorable members to make comments on this will be the Honorable Farah Maalim.
Madam Speaker, I also join my colleagues in mourning the death of this very promising young man, and more so the majority leader of Nyamira County Assembly, Mr. Elijah Osieme. Madam Speaker, the main reason why I stand on this thing, I don't know the young man, I don't know the people who died in that, but we have a problem in this country. We mourn the death of young people, very promising young people. We go to the funerals, we go in choppers and we go in big cars, and we forget the family the moment that funeral is over. I want to task, we have to take care of the young family that's left behind by that very promising young man. We don't have an insurance system that is going to take care of these children. I have seen myself, happened to have gone one time with a friend of mine from Luo Nyanza. We were riding in a chopper from here, costing not less than 500,000 shillings. And the amount of money that was given as a contribution out there was very small, paltry sums. Madam Speaker, that is the height of hypocrisy in this country. We need to take care of those children who were left behind by this young man who has passed on at the prime of his age, who has sacrificed a lot and was willing to sacrifice for this country. Osoro, you are the majority whip here. For God's sake, can you pass around a list of all the members of parliament and start with me and come and take 20,000 from each one of us? And take that money to the family. When it comes to the issue of security, the government must come with a very powerful security direction. How do you get 4 members of a county assembly riding in the same car? Madam Speaker, in the international organizations, the big corporations in the world, 5 or 6 members of one corporation from one department are not allowed to fly in the same plane. The other day, and my friend here is laughing, behind me, the entire leadership of Northeastern Province was supposed to fly out of this place in one plane. The governors, the senators, the members of parliament, the provincial administration, the security person, everybody. That happened in 2004 when we lost our best the entire leadership, political leadership of Marsabit in one accident. In one accident. We lost one of the most promising leaders in this country, who I always say is the president that Kenya never got, the late Dr. Moneya Godana. A man of immense potentialities. And all the members of parliament, all of them died on that crash. Now, the security machinery must come with a directive that says you cannot travel, so many of you, coming from the same what you call department, or the same what you call region, or the same what you call institution, in one car or in one plane. Imagine about 60, how many were we? He was there. I refused to go in there. I said we are going to go for a security meeting, and this is the biggest insecurity action you are taking right now as leaders from the region and from the country, national leaders, to fly in one plane. Everybody, the governors, the senators, the members of parliament, the majority leaders in those places, the security machinery, the provincial police, everybody, regional commissioner. It is not fair. I mean, that is a very powerful lapse in security. This country needs to have a very conscious security structure. So, 2 things. Osoro, I expect you to do what I've told you, and let the government also, for God's sake, come with a directive so that we don't lose so many leaders in one accident. Thank you.
For members, on behalf of the honorable members who have expressed interest and they are not going to speak, I would like us to come to a close. so that we can move to the next order. I give condolences to the family. Honorable Majority Leader, statement. The Thursday statement, first one to standing order number 44-2A.
All right. Honorable Speaker, I rise to give the statement pursuant to the provision of standing order 44-2A. I rise to give the following statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Tuesday, 8th August 2023, to prioritize business for consideration during the week. Honorable Speaker, as members are aware, yesterday the House approved the limitation of debate on motions sponsored by individual members to a maximum of 1.5 hours. Therefore, members should take note of this and ensure they are present in the House on Wednesdays morning and ready to move their motions as scheduled in the order paper. Honorable Speaker, with regards to the business of Tuesday next week, the House is expected to continue with second reading of the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill 2023 and the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill 2022, should they not be concluded today. Additionally, debate will also be undertaken on the following motions should they not be concluded today: consideration of reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for various funds, consideration of the excise duty amendment regulations. I think we have had communication on that there is a court case that has been filed, Honorable Speaker, so this order may not appear in next week. Report of the Kenya delegation to the 146th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union IPU and related meetings. Reports of the 4th General Assembly of the Eastern Africa Parliamentary Alliance on Food Security and Nutrition, EAPA FSN. Report on the inspection of various one-stop border posts in the Northern Corridor in East African Community Region, and consideration of the excise duty excisable goods management system amendment regulations 2023. Honorable Speaker, in accordance with the provision of standing order 42A5 and 6, I wish to convey that the following cabinet secretaries are scheduled to appear before the House on the afternoon of Wednesday, 16th August 2023, to respond to questions as follows. A, Cabinet Secretary for Health to respond to the following questions. Question number 108/2023 by the member for Masinga, Honorable Joshua Mwalio MP, regarding settlement of pension benefits by the Kenyatta National Hospital Superannuation Scheme, DB scheme. 2, question number 113/2023 by the member for Kiambu, Hon John Machua Waithaka MP, regarding availability of anti-epilepsy drugs in public hospitals. Question number 157/2023 by the nominated member Hon Sabina Shege MP, regarding the distribution of velo drug in the country. Question number 214/2023 by the member for Keiti Hon Joshua Kimilu MP, regarding preventive measures and eradication of neglected tropical diseases. Question number 306/2023 by the nominated member Hon Irene Mayaka MP, regarding conducting of a national health survey to define the burden of mental illness in the country. Question number 307/2023 by the member for Kabete Hon James Wamashukuru MP, regarding the provision of medical insurance cover by the National Health Insurance Fund to facilitate gender transformation for intersex persons. That will be an interesting question. Question number 308/2023 by the member for Subukia Hon Samuel Gashobe MP, regarding the death of Miss Lois Njoki Kariuki of ID number 24810835 at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. Question number 309/2023 by the member for Mumias West on Peter Salasia MP, regarding availability of lecturers in the Kenya Medical Training College. Question number 310/2023 by the member for Kabete Hon James Wamashukuru MP, regarding provision of auxiliary aids and services to deaf and hard of hearing individuals. Question number 355/2023 by the nominated member Hon Dorothy Kiara MP, regarding the menace of teen pregnancies in the country And question number 358, 2023, by the member for Shinyalu, Honorable Patrick Ikana, MP, regarding the outbreak of a disease in Mukumu Girls High School in the month of March 2023. The Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife Heritage will appear and respond to the following questions. Question number 76, 2023, by the member for Mwingi Central, Honorable Gideon Mulyungi, MP, regarding steps taken by the Ministry to resolve human-wildlife traffic in the country. Question number 119, 2023, by the member for Igembe North on Taitumu Manaiba, MP, regarding restraining of marauding elephants in Igembe North from attacking the locals. Question number 218, 2023, by the member for Bomet Central, Honorable Richard Kilel, MP, regarding funds received by the Tourism Promotion Fund as the proceeds realized under Section 3 of the Air Passenger Service Charge Act Cap 475. Question number 226, 2023, by the member for Ndiwa, Hon Martin Peters Owino, MP, regarding allocation of funds to Kenya Wildlife Service towards maintenance of Okadio Kodumbo Mirogi Road. Question number 228, 2023, by the member for Ganze, Honorable Kenneth Kazungu, MP, regarding containment of elephant herds that have been a menace to residents of Mwahera, Jira, and Mrimawandege in Ganze constituency. Question number 320, 2023, by the member for Wajir West, Honorable Aden Daoud Mohammed, MP, regarding oversight of the Tourism Promotion Fund Board. Question number 321, 2023, by the member for West Pokot County, Honorable Rael Kasiwai, MP, regarding rehabilitation and preservation of the Kapunguria Museum. Question number 322, 2023, by the member for Mandera South, Honorable Abdul Haro, MP, regarding steps taken by the ministry to mitigate human-wildlife conflict in Mandera South constituency. Question number 323, 2023, by the member for Samburu County, Honorable Pauline Lenguris, MP, regarding compensation of families and residents in Samburu County killed by wild animals and destruction of their property. Question number 324, 2023, by the member for Nyandarua County, Honorable Faith Gitau, MP, regarding the human-wildlife conflict cases at Makindu in Olkalao constituency. And question number 325, 2023, by the member for West Pokot County, Honorable Rael Kasiwai, MP, regarding settlement of approved compensation claims in a Solot Game Reserve. Honorable Speaker, following a direction given on Wednesday, 9th August 2023, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration, Professor Kithure Kindiki, and the Cabinet Secretary for Information Communication and the Digital Economy, Mr. Eliud Owalo, are scheduled to appear again before the House on the afternoon of Wednesday, 16th August 2023, to respond to questions regarding operations and activities of WorldCoin, and 2, national security and recent cyber attack on key government systems. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee will reconvene on Tuesday, 15th August 2023, to schedule the business for the rest of the week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House today. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Members, before we go to the reorganization of business, I would like us to go to order number 8, and I would like to call upon the mover of this motion to reply. I read the order.
Order number 8, motion, inquiry into the maize flour subsidy program for the financial year 2022-2023. Mover to reply.
Mover, the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock.
Honourable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to reply towards the adoption of the report on the inquiry on the maize subsidy of last year. Honourable Speaker, I would like to thank those who had an opportunity to speak to this motion, especially those who had an opportunity to read the report. Honourable Speaker, the report itself was a synthesis report. it may not have contained everything that we were presented with, because we were dealing with close to 118 organizations, and they had given us individual reports. So annexing those would have been something that would have needed a pickup to bring the report here. So, Honorable Speaker, what we did as a committee, we took time to understand what they were saying, and we took time to interrogate what they had presented to us, and give a synthesis report, which basically enables us to make a decision as a House. Honorable Speaker, all those who spoke, without exception, recognized that the prices of unga were high last year. They recognized the fact that it was necessary for the government to intervene to bring the prices of maize flour down. They also appreciated the fact that the government did actually intervene to reduce the cost of unga. The report basically captures the variety of ways that we can subsidize subsidize the costs, and there are several. They form basically under two broad categories, that is the supply side and the demand side. And the demand side in this particular case is where you subsidize the cost of a product as it is. But in the supply side, that is the kind of strategy adopted by the Kenya Kwanza government right now, where subsidization is basically going through the lowering of the cost of inputs. And many countries are applying some of these strategies. It's not only Kenya. Honorable Speaker, we listened to submissions from the ministry, submissions from the two main associations who are contacted to do this. And all these submissions gave us information. We also listened to the Attorney General. We had written submission from the Attorney General, and basically also we had written submission from the different institutions that were involved. The context of the report itself gave us some highlights that made us go into the inquiry process. One of them was lack of clarity on some of the committees. The membership of the committees was not very clear. Some were changing. The other issue that was not also clear is the contract itself. We were presented with two contracts. The ministry then gave us a contract which was not signed by the millers. So the contract that was signed by the millers was different. And, Honorable Speaker, we also found that there were different amounts of unga in terms of unga produced and purportedly also distributed. We also found a disclaimer in the contract itself, trying to clear the maize millers from any kind of blame if the packets of 2 kilos were not found in the market selling at 100 shillings. We also found a few other issues that were important, the changing number of members, and especially in one of the associations called the Cereal Millers Association. We also found some discrepancies in the fact that this particular maize mill was not marked 100 shillings, or was neither marked 100 shillings, nor was it marked subsidy. Because if it was marked subsidy, then it would have been easy for Kenyans to identify this particular type of product in the market and basically buy it. And it would also have prevented anyone from using this particular product and selling at the going cost at that particular point in time. We also, Honorable Speaker, according to the report and what came out on the floor, is that the ministry's payment records were basically different from those of the associations that also made their presentations. This made the committee think of going the inquiry way. And the inquiry process was guided by 3 objectives. But before we go to the objectives, Honorable Speaker, the questions we asked these institutions before they gave us the presentations were that we needed to identify whether the process of identification of the suppliers of the maize flour was free and fair. We also needed to know the context and content of the contracts themselves, and that's why we found some of those anomalies. And the other issue, we wanted to know whether the awarding process was free and fair. We wanted to know how was it done, when were they contacted, how was the contacting done, and how was the notification and also the mobilization done. Also the amounts paid and the amounts claimed as unpaid, and the distribution process to the retailers and finally to the consumers. All those who were involved didn't respond, including the National Treasury in terms of the payments they made, because the National Treasury released 4 billion shillings to pay for this maize subsidy as using Article 223. Honorable Speaker, the inquiry majored on 3 questions, and that's why I want to center my response to, or rather my reply. One of them was whether the initiative met the objective. The second one, whether the identification process was free and fair. And finally, did we have value for money? Those three questions were answered by different institutions, and our synthesis of the various documents and reports that we received, the re-examination of this meant the committee designed to clear one of the associations as having at least met the minimum requirements, and therefore they couldn't be paid their dues. And this association is called the Grain Mill Owners Association because in terms of meeting whether the process met the objective, in as far as their submissions are concerned, they clearly and carefully documented their process. They also they were cleared by the ministries and by the multi-agency task force or multi-agency team that was put together under the management of the National Cereals and Produce Board. Also, the reports of the multi-agency team corroborates very well with their report as the millers. They also sold most of the unga, most of the 2-kilogram packets from their premises, from the milling plant premises, because most of them are situated near the areas of habitation or near the residential areas. On the issue of the process, in as far as this particular association is concerned, Honourable Speaker, though they were not earlier pre-fund, they were later on consulted and contacted anyway, and they were actually given through their leadership, they were given the contracts and they signed. On the other hand, still on the process, the contracts that they signed, we examined and found it was the same as those other associations. So there was fairness in that particular issue. On the issue of value for money, whether their process meant really the quality of value for money, whether the money we spent was actually well utilized, the quantities of the maize flour that they produced, maize as a product that went into the milling plant, vis-a-vis the quantities of the packet, from the packets of the maize flour that they produced, they very perfectly tallied. To be paid is also not changing, it is static. And also the membership of this association does not change. So we really see value for money in terms of this particular consideration. On the other hand, Honourable Speaker, the Ministry of Agriculture owes Treasury 4 billion shillings in terms of reimbursables. And therefore, we need, as a House, to start clearing the ministry to be able to get full reimbursement from the Treasury. So in conclusion, Honourable Speaker, I would like to move that this House adopts this report and declare that the Grain Mill Owners Association is paid their dues, which is about 500 million, and that the ministry takes up this particular issue. We also hasten to hand that further investigations are ongoing. The committee has met twice on this particular issue, and next week we are still meeting to look at more reports and more submissions to be able to clearly tell what was lost and how much was it and who should be charged. Anything that is outstanding and that may come from this association that we are clearing on our speaker may not be impactful, it may be negligible. The focus in the onward inquiry on our speaker is actually what was paid to the Cereal Millers Association, who else was paid, who was not in the Cereal Millers Association and the Grain Millers Organization Grain Mill Owners Association. Did they have the contracts, and were those contracts are the ones that we saw, and also what are the variations and so on. That's what the committee is delivering right now. Honourable Speaker, the communication from the, of course, concerning this particular provision will clearly tell that even if we have said we clear these as associations to be paid, should we find anything, which I doubt, should we find anything that does not basically indicate that their process was clean, we will call upon in the final report that this House does make the necessary consideration. Honourable Speaker, I wish to move. And in this particular respect, Honourable Speaker, I would like to request, in view of the quorum, I would like to request that you defer, understanding under 53, subsection 3, you defer the putting of the question to next time. Thank you very much.
putting of the question is deferred to the next time, as it will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Honorable members, now we go to the reorganization of business. And in this regard, we are going to have the motion number 10 moved up to be 9, and 9 to go down to 10. So in that case, I hereby now invite the chairperson, Committee on Delegated Legislation.
Order number 9, motion, consideration of the Excise Duty Amendment Regulations 2023.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for your consideration. I beg to move, Madam Speaker, that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Excise Duty Amendment Regulations 2023 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 1st August 2023, and pursuant to Section 15, subsection 4 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, approves the Excise Duty Amendment Regulations 2023, published as legal notice number 40 of 2023. Madam Speaker, these regulations are an amendment to the principal regulations that were passed in 2017, which are namely Excise Duty Regulations 2017. Madam Speaker, these regulations, the amending regulations, there are a total of 8 paragraphs, Madam Speaker, amending various parts of the regulations contained in the Excise Duty Regulations of 2017. Madam Speaker, the intention of these regulations is to introduce schedules to the specification of the metering, monitoring, and measuring devices or systems. And they would be introduced as 2 schedules in the amendment that are being proposed to be approved this afternoon, Madam Speaker. This is meant to create fairness for taxpayers and facilitate the effective administration of excise duty. Madam Speaker, the excise duty tax is a tool to influence the consumption of certain products generally on health, environmental protection grounds. It is also an important source of government revenue as excise on goods. The principal regulations, Madam Speaker, provide for installing metering and measuring devices and systems in the production system to ensure that the correct qualities of excisable goods produced or transferred are measured. The regulations therefore provides for specification for metering, measurement and metering devices or systems. This is important, Madam Speaker, to ensure uniformity of such devices to prevent revenue leakages due to using inappropriate devices. Madam Speaker, these regulations expands the requirements to include importing or manufacturing packaging materials for nicotine and nicotine substitute. This will deter supply by the importer to unlicensed manufacturers of products containing nicotine and nicotine substitutes. Madam Speaker, these are very important regulations because it seeks to define what a co-manufacturer is, which was not contained in the excise regulations of 2017. What has happened, Madam Speaker, in this country is that as a result of this production being automated and sometimes others manual, it's been realized that the regulations as they exist do not capture the co-manufacturers of these products. And so the whole intention, Madam Speaker, has provided in paragraph 7 of the regulations, of the amending regulations, it provides for the co-manufacturers to be brought into the bracket so that they can also be taxed wherever the goods are stored or produced on and on behalf of the principal manufacturer. So the import, Madam Speaker, is contained in Regulation 15 of the principal regulation, and will be amended by these regulations to provide details of raw materials received and removed from the premises of the co-manufacturer. It also will provide for production records at every stage of the manufacturing process. And thirdly, it will also ensure that the packaging materials received and utilized in their premises are also recorded. And finally, the readings of measuring and metering devices for each co-manufacturer production is also recorded. And so this will enhance, Madam Speaker, will improve the tax compliance and create fairness for taxpayers. Lastly, Madam Speaker, these regulations are intended not to have direct impact in terms of revenue, but it is intended to have an indirectly impact that leads to revenue mobilization by improving just compliance, Madam Speaker. We're just bringing in those people who are supposed to pay taxes and they have not been paying. So this is just purely to improve compliance by taxpayers in terms of paying taxes. And so, Madam Speaker, it is indeed very brief, very short regulations, and I beg therefore to move and request the Honorable Sunkuli, the former Minister of Internal Security, to second. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, in seconding this motion, I must say that I am one of the members of the Delegated Legislation Committee, which is ably chaired by my learned friend and honorable member for Ainabkoi. And Madam Speaker, of course, the regulations are subsidiary legislation to the main act that deals with excise duty. And we were informed by those who brought the regulations that these regulations will enhance the dual purpose of excise duty. One being, of course, to give government revenue, much needed revenue, but also in order to regulate some of the commodities that need to be regulated either because they have environmental impact or they have health impacts on the citizens of Kenya. So we looked at these regulations very carefully and we thought that they were in good order. There were some words, the terminologies that needed to be defined. For instance, in order to bring, of course, these people to the bracket of taxation. For instance, the co-manufacturer terminology. A co-manufacturer, of course, is someone who either participates in the manufacturer chain, part of the manufacture is done by them, or someone to whom manufacturing is outsourced. So these needed to be brought into the brackets so that we could be able to have them taxed by the Treasury. And the rest has been ably explained by my learned friend. And I thought that although he's from Kenya Kwanza, I think he needs the money as government. And so that he does not ask me where my mileage will come from, Madam Speaker, I think they are good regulations, and we really should support them because they are rather straightforward. I beg to second.
Thank you very much for seconding. Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Excise Duty Amendment Regulations 2023, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 1st of August 2023, and pursuant to Section 15(4) of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, approves the Excise Duty Amendment Regulations 2023, published as legal notice number 40 of 2023. Honorable members, I assume those who have their cards and their names appearing on the screen are interested to speak on this motion. I give the first opportunity to the Honorable Eric Muchangi, member for Runyenjes. He seems to have stepped out. The Honorable Peter Salasia, member for Mumias East. The Honorable Peter Kihungi, member for Kangema. The Honorable Catherine Omanyo, member for Busia County. The Honorable John Mutunga, member for Tigania West. The Honorable Catherine Omanyo is on her feet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Catherine Omanyo, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is important for all Kenyans to be responsible in building their own nation. There is no single day a neighbor or a friend from far away will come and open your eyes to learn to appreciate what God has given you as Mother Nature. So paying taxes is our responsibility. However, there is, in this report, I think they did a wonderful job, and we have people who actually evade taxes. The government should increase more in adding people who evade taxes to give taxes without necessarily increasing taxes. And there are children who get excited after 18 years when they hit 18 years, who get ID numbers and get the PIN certificate, KRA, but do not understand that immediately you get that certificate, you are supposed to be actually doing zero returns, or if you start business, then you must give tax returns. So the government's role is to keep educating the people with limited understanding about these taxes and encouraging more than frustrating, because sometimes we see it is being used as a bait. When a friend has maybe gone out of phase with somebody in power, then they use it to punish instead of it being carried out fairly to everybody. So it is a beautiful report, but I'm just topping up a little that those children who have been asked to pay every year since they were 18 years, to pay 2,000 every year, they didn't return zero returns, they should be actually be forgiven, so that once they have a business or they get a job, then they can start paying taxes. They might be still in colleges or universities, they are below 26 years, and they might not even understand what this thing is. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable John Mutunga, member for Tigania West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this motion on adoption of the report of the committee on the adoption of the regulations as an interpretation of the act that was passed in 2013. Honorable Speaker, the excise duty where interpretation was offered in the Excise Duty Act in 2015, but they have not been operationalized as at now. It is important that we operationalize this particular act in order, first of all, to regulate the subsector, regulate the products themselves. Honorable Speaker, one of the important issues about the excise duty tax, it is a tool to influence consumption of certain products. Some products have not been guided properly in terms of consumption. It is also important in the sense that it also regulates the health and the environment. It is also comes in to regulate the environment in order to ensure that the environment is protected. The government also is going to gain some revenue out of introduction of these particular regulations. So it is important to have the regulations in place in order to increase the revenue, in order to improve on the environment, and in order to protect the health of our people. Honorable Speaker, it proposes introduction of metering, and the metering has a connotation of standardization. When we have meters or meter systems, the standards will be correct. Same kind of appliances will be used to determine the excise of goods, and therefore ensure that the transferred goods are properly measured. The legal notice, Honourable Speaker, provides for specifications of the metering itself, the measurement of the goods or the products that are supposed to be handled in this particular respect, and also the metering devices themselves. It is important in the sense that it will ensure uniformity of such devices, because devices may be produced from different parts of the country, of the world, and they may have different effects. But the regulations specify exactly how these devices are going to be developed and how they are going to be utilized. It will also prevent any tax or any revenue leakages, because inappropriate methods will not be used, or inappropriate devices will not be used. In this case, appropriate devices will be used, and therefore we shall be able to harness the tax that we might get or the revenue that we might get from this particular process. Adoption of the regulations, Honourable Speaker, will also streamline licensing and registration of the persons undertaking this particular function. The persons who partake this particular business will be properly registered, they will be regulated using the regulations as it were, and therefore we will implement the act as it were. The regulations basically principally specify the activities for which the registration is supposed to be, who is supposed to register these, the practitioners or the players, and how they are supposed to be able to do their work. It is also important to have public consultation. I mean, to have information to the people. And therefore, upon consulting the people, several issues came out on the need to have, under in this particular subsector, on the need to have proper regulations for purposes of managing the subsector, as it were. Honourable Speaker, I believe adoption of this particular report enables the committee to progress into ensuring that the Act, the 2013 Act, is implemented. Honourable Speaker, I support.
Honourable members, there be no other interest in this motion. I would like to call upon the mover to reply. Kindly pass the mic to the Honourable Chepkonga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank the members who have contributed ably to this debate and this motion. It has indeed been very constructive, very enlightening, and I'd like also to thank the members of the Committee of Delegated Legislation who have been participating very efficiently and effectively in the work of the committee. Indeed, Madam Speaker, we have had very many regulations in this committee. If it is not the commitment of the members of this committee, we would have been overwhelmed. And I'd like to assure you, Madam Speaker, that these regulations meet all the parameters as contained in the Statutory Instruments Act. And so therefore, I beg to reply. I thank you.
Honourable members, I defer the putting of the question to a time when this particular motion will be scheduled again by the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 10, motion. Consideration of reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for various funds.
Honourable members, I call upon the Chairperson, Special Funds Accounts Committee, or the representative.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg that this House adopts the report of the Special Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement for the Women Enterprise Fund, Coffee Sherry Advanced Revolving Fund, Strategic Food Reserve Trust Fund, Equalization Fund, Mechanical and Transport Fund, National Research Fund, Youth Enterprise Development Fund, Uwezo Fund, and Civil Servants Housing Fund Scheme Fund, laid on the table of this House on Tuesday, 14th June 2023. Honorable Speaker, the committee in this report considered the reports of the Auditor General on the audited financial statements for Women Enterprise Fund for the financial year 2018-2019, 2019-2020, and 2020-2021. Co-Fishery Advance Revolving Fund for the financial year 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021. Strategic Food Reserve Trust Fund for the financial year 2020, 2021. Equalization Fund for the financial year 2020, 2021. National Youth Service Mechanical and Transport Fund for the financial year 2020, 2021. National Research Fund for the financial year 2019, 2020, 2021. Youth Enterprise Development Fund for the financial year 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021. Uwezo Fund for the financial year 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021. Civil Servants Housing Scheme Fund for the financial year 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022. The committee held a total of 30 meetings where it received evidence from the accounting officers. Our Engineer Charles Muirigi, Chief Executive Officer, Women Enterprise Fund. Mr. Timothy M. Mirugi, Managing Director, New Kenya Planters Cooperative Union, now referred to as Co-Fishery Advance Revolving Fund. Mr. Kelo Harsama, Principal Secretary, State Department for Crop Development and Agricultural Research. Mr. Guyo Buro, Chief Executive Officer, Equalization Fund. Amos N. Gathecha, EBS, Principal Secretary, State Department for Public Service. Professor Dixon Andala, Chief Executive Officer, National Research Fund. Josiah Moriasi, Chief Executive Officer, Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Mr. Peter Lenyapiani, Chief Executive Officer, Uwezo Fund. Mr. Charles Hinga, Principal Secretary, State Department for Housing and Urban Development. The oral and written submission received form the basis of observation, findings, and recommendations of the committee as outlined in the report under each of the audit queries. These are also contained in the minutes and answer reports of committee proceedings. General observations and recommendations. During the examination of the audited report, the committee made the following general observations and recommendations which apply across the examined funds. Late submission of documents. The committee observed that most of the audit queries raised by the Auditor General were as a result of the failure by accounting officers to submit the necessary accounting documentation for verification during the audit process as provided in Section 31 of the Public Audit Act 2015. 2, the late submission of accounting documentation was because some funds relied on staff from other ministries, departments, and agencies to file and submit returns on expenditures. The staff are not accountable to the accounting officers of the fund. Uwezo Fund, for instance, depends on the sub-county youth officer for the submission of constituency returns. The officers cover more than one constituency, therefore leading to delays in submission of accounting documentation. Many funds operations are manual, making them take time to prepare and submit the financial documents. The committee recommends that the accounting officers to be put in place mechanisms to ensure that the fund receives accounting documentations on time in compliance with the provisions Section 68, 2B, and C of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and Regulation of 100 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulation 2015. The accounting officers to ensure timely submission of accounting documentation require for audit verification during the audit as per the provision of the Section 31/4 of the Public Act 2015, and the accounting officers to initiate appropriate mechanism to ensure automation of funds process and operations. Number 2, long outstanding receivables. The committee observed that the recoveries of the loans issued by the funds to youth, women, and financial intermediaries are not up to date, with some receivables remaining unrecovered for more than 1 year. The committee recommends that the accounting officers to ensure that all contracts entered into by the fund are lawful and complied with accordance with the Section 68/2D of PFM Act 2012, and with 3 months upon adoption of the report, the accounting officers should submit the status report of non-performing loans and recoveries made to the Auditor General for audit verification. Presentation and inaccuracies in the financial statements. The committee observed that the issue of presentation and inaccuracies in the financial statements was noted in almost all the examined audit reports, with cases of wrong classifications of assets and expenditures, unexplained and reconciled variance, and non-compliance to the format prescribed by Public Sector Accounting Standard Board, amongst others. The committee recommends that the accounting officers ensure that all applicable accounting and financial control systems, standard, laws, and procedures are followed in the preparation of the financial statement in compliance with the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and in accordance with the standards prescribed by the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board as per regulations of 101/4 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulation 2012. Unresolved prior matters. The committee observed that the prior year audit issues remained unresolved at the end of the financial year against requirements of the Section 68(21) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, which requires the accounting officer to take appropriate measures to resolve any issue arising from audit which may remain outstanding. The committee also observed that some accounting officers do not disclose the progress on the follow-up of auditor recommendations in the financial statement as required by Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. The committee recommends that within 3 months upon the adoption of this report, the accounting officer should take appropriate measures to resolve the outstanding prior audit issues as required by Section 68(2)(1) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and submit the necessary documentation to the Auditor General for audit verification. The accounting officer ensures that all applicable accounting and financial control systems, standard, laws, procedures are followed in the preparation of the financial statement in compliance with the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and in accordance with the standard prescribed by the Public Sector Accounting Standard Board as per Regulation 101(4) of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulation 2012. Weak internal control systems. The committee observed that there were weaknesses in the internal control systems resulting in inadequate documentation, accounting and reconciliation of accounting records, as well as filing of expenditure returns, deficiency in documentation, authorization, approval, and recovery of loans. The committee recommends that the accounting officers ensure that all applicable accounting and financial control systems, standards, laws, procedures are followed in the preparation of the financial statement in compliance with the Public Finance Management Act 2012 in accordance with the standard prescribed by the Public Sector Accounting Standard Board as per Regulation 101(4) of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulations 2012. Grounded assets. The committee observed that the Mechanical and Transport Fund has 7 motor vehicles that have been grounded for a long time due to various mechanical reasons, And the Youth Enterprise Development Fund has 8 motor vehicles and 105 motorcycles that have been grounded due to various mechanical reasons and 907 outdated hatcheries. The committee recommends that the accounting officers seek approval to dispose the mentioned assets in accordance with the provision of Public Procurement Asset Disposal Act 2015 and its regulations within 3 months upon the adoption of this report. The accounting officers to ensure there are proper control systems to eliminate theft, losses, wastage, and misuse of fund assets in compliance with Regulations 139 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulations 2012. The specific audit issues raised in 9 funds for respective funds years are contained in the report. Honorable Speaker, I thank the committee for the period they took and their time and the energy and their resource to help our committee deliver this report in good time in almost 100% accuracy. I also recommend and appreciate the assistance given by the Honorable Speaker at all periods when we could not hold our meetings and we had to request the House to allow us to be out of the House to hold this meeting so that we could prepare our report in good time. I also appreciate our team, the clerk, the department that deals with this fund. I appreciate their tireless job working till late hours and even over the weekends to make sure that our report reach the required standard of this House. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I request Honorable Catherine Omanyo to second the motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Before you second, I would like to ask her to go back to her feet so that you may move the motion. You move and then you request her to second.
I request that we move the motion.
Okay, we are learning. Eh? You are still learning.
Honorable
I beg to move.
I beg to move the motion.
Would you like to request the seconder?
Okay. Honorable Speaker, thank you. I request Honorable Catherine Omanyo to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That record is extremely important for the House. Honorable Catherine Omanyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to second this report that I personally have been part of it. And before I sit down, there's some more observations that we actually observed. And we realized that there were many similar funds with same vision, same mission, facing same challenges, and yet there is a duplicate of the strategies that have failed being repeated over and over again. And then the accounting officers seemed to be overwhelmed. Yes, many of the institutions that had audit queries, you would see they lacked enough staff. You would find a CEO is the driver, is the secretary, and is helping the accountant whenever they come to sit with us in the committee. Then you ask what is going on, who is the accountant here, and they would say, we actually do not have A, B, C, D, which was quite unfortunate. We also realized that the long bureaucracy that is archaic, it's actually Neanderthal in our world, looking into our age in Kenya, that you have to go through a long process for anything to happen, making some of the resources, public resources, going into waste, because there are so many stages that anybody taking over any office has to undergo for them to save a situation. For example, like GK vehicles. There are some of these GK vehicles where if you looked at when the time it was taken to the garage, if somebody would have just stepped in within a week, that GK vehicle could have been salvaged. But because it can take between 6 months to 1 year or forever, and nobody seems to care, and other newer vehicles are bought, the other older one is forgotten about. This is just, staggering to see that our public resources are misused in that manner. So we also faced some of the funds that were created, but they do not have a proper, they were not, they are there, but they are still not in anything, not in the act, not really well known, but they are receiving funds from the public coffers. So we could question, and how did you find yourself there? Then they would say we were given this particular office to handle this little kitty that has been going on since maybe the last 10 years. And yet it is not well defined according to our constitution. So there is a lot of repetition. Even you find so many officers, big titles in between, with duplicated roles in their portfolios, making us wonder, as a special fund, why should we have almost a director here, another CEO in the same, and then another name closer to a CEO, and another name again, and everybody's big in that particular institution. It's like there is a lot of nepotism because somebody who was there purported or just made sure that they create a vacancy for a friend or a relative, which is quite, again, unfortunate, because we are here to protect the public taxpayers and make sure that every shilling that they actually give is well orchestrated and well used. I second and appreciate that we came to this, and I just say thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Omanyo. Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Special Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on financial statements for the Women Enterprise Fund, Coffee Sherry Advance Revolving Fund, Strategic Food Reserve Trust Fund, Equalization Fund, Mechanical and Transport Fund, National Research Fund, Youth Enterprise Development Fund, WESO Fund, and Civil Servants Housing Scheme Fund, laid on the table of this House on Thursday, the 15th of June, 2023. Honorable members, I now open the debate. And I give the first opportunity to the Honorable Joseph Cherorot, member for Cape Quellion East.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I stand to support the report and the motion which have been moved by the Special Fund Committee. I'm part of this committee, Madam Speaker, and we deliberated on several issues. But I want to say, as has been shared, Madam Speaker, that we have so many overriding issues when it comes to management of funds. I want to say that the government has to be very keen on that area so that whenever, Madam Speaker, any fund is allocated, it is put into the proper use, because the challenge we have is that the delays and also lack of proper direction when it comes to the use of the fund, Madam Speaker. So I want to say that I support the motion, and it has come at the right time, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
The Honorable Eric Muchangi, member for Runyenjes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this matter. And Honorable Speaker, my attention is drawn to one of the items in this report, which has to do with the consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the Coffee Cherry Advance Revolving Fund. Honorable Speaker, I am a member of Parliament who happens to come from a coffee growing zone. And apart from coming from a zone that grows coffee, I am also a farmer. I have several stems of coffee. And when I hear this issue of the Coffee Cherry Advance Revolving Fund being discussed, I wonder who benefits from this fund, because farmers from my constituency are yet to benefit from this fund. And Honorable Speaker, every other time we get these farmers get promised that they will get money. Every other day we keep reminding them that better days are underway. And the reason as to why this fund came to being was to help them so that they can go back to their farms and make their farms better, because we had gone to a point where several factories within our constituencies were closed down because of the low prices of coffee, and farmers abandoning the coffee farming and engaging into other crops that they felt were profitable, like mogoka and vegetables. So, Honorable Speaker, as I support this report, I would wish to ask the government of Kenya and also the Ministry of Cooperatives, led by one Honorable Simon Chelugui, to ensure that the farmers of coffee farmers in Kenya, coffee farmers in Embu County, coffee farmers in the constituency of Runyenjes, get the support, because this fund was supposed to be, first of all, affordable, sustainable, and accessible. So it is not accessible at all to the farmers of Runyenjes, and I beg that these farmers be assisted. Just recently, the president was on a tour of Mount Kenya, and one of the things that he really emphasized on was that he would like...
Honorable Gogo, you are completely out of order. And you know you are in your third term. Second term? Second term is long enough. So make a decision on the side of the L where you want to be.
Thank you.
You may proceed, Honorable Mushangi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was saying that a few days ago, the president was on a tour of Mount Kenya, and one of the things that he really emphasized on was the issue of increment in the volume of coffee that is being grown. Currently, we are doing around 40,000 metric tons, and he desires that we do more than that. We can get to up to around 80 or even 100,000 metric tons of coffee. And this cannot be possible, Honorable Speaker, if our farmers are not going to be given to be supported through this fund, so that they can go back to the farms, get that fertilizer, get other farm inputs, and bring back coffee farming into how it is supposed to be. And apart from that, Honorable Speaker, my attention is drawn to what is happening in the coffee sector. For instance, 2 days ago in my constituency, Honorable Speaker, farmers who had brought together their coffee to a factory called Edemotiki in Kigaa sublocation of Runyenjes constituency, woke up to the bad news, to the sad news that their coffee was stolen. And this is not the first time it is happening. It had happened a couple of weeks ago at a place called Gasongo. It had also happened at a place called Kanjogo. Yeah? It had also happened at a place called Kaningo. All of those places, Honorable Speaker, I can see you are smiling because you have not heard of such places before, but all that was happening in my constituency. So farmers have been losing coffee to theft, and I heard recently the officers commanding police stations, the OCPD and the OCS, being instructed to instruct police officers, or rather to allocate police officers to go and guard coffee in those particular factories. And you know, one of the responsibilities of the police in this country is to protect our lives and our properties. And Honorable Speaker, the coffee that I'm talking about is a property of our people, and so it should be guarded. And so, Honorable Speaker, as I support this motion, I would ask that our coffee farmers be protected, because initially it was exploitation. Now it is theft. This is too much that is happening to our coffee farmers. They need help, and let the government of Kenya, let those people who are charged with protecting our people and their property do so, because that is what they are mandated to do by the Constitution of Kenya. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support.
Member for Runyenjes. Honorable members, on my left, I only have one interest from the Honorable Millie Odhiambo, member for Suba North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I actually thought I would be way down the line because I've just come in, but I do thank you anyway that members have either already spoken or don't have a lot of interest. But I want to thank the committee for bringing this report, and I want to thank my sister, Honorable Fatuma Full Network, for doing a good job, especially as a new member. Very impressive work. Madam Speaker, I just want to indicate as a matter of concern, I think some other members have spoken to this, but I just want to indicate as a matter of concern that when we have so many scattered funds all over the place, then the kind of problems that the committee has identified are likely to happen. They are thin-staffed, they share staff, so even when you have an occasion where audit is being undertaken, then they will not be ready because of the challenges that they are facing. So sometimes you can actually vilify the funds when indeed it's actually the way they are structured that is a problem. Madam Speaker, if you remember that Honorable the late Dr. Joyce Laboso had actually brought a bill which became law, the Social Security Act, which deals a lot with a lot of social security issues. Yet, you find that we still have scattered funds all over, when the realistic thing to do would be to consolidate all those funds under that act and under one body. But when we have all the funds scattered all over the place, Madam Speaker, then a lot of them become cash cows because they are not effective. If you look at Uwezo Fund, for instance, Uwezo Fund can be a very effective fund if it is given in sufficient amounts. But you find that Uwezo Fund is doing the same thing that the Youth Fund is doing, the same thing that the Women Fund is also doing. So because of that, then you don't have effectiveness. You could actually find that there are women group right now that could be actually owning apartments, could be owning buses. Like we saw in the past when we were growing, there was a group, I think, called Nyakinyo. Unfortunately, they had also some wrangles and one of my friends that I went to Limuru Girls with, her mother was killed in the process. But you could see at least they were fighting over very serious resources. But what are we talking about now? That we are giving people 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 for groups. So in the end, it's not even effective. But also the other challenge that we then end up facing is that members of parliament end up being forced to use their own resources for logistical purposes. Like Uwezo funds, unless you as a member of parliament, you are able to give money for the administrative costs, the monies that are put in those funds are so little that it actually becomes meaningless. So what I would want to request this committee, that one of the things that you need to look at in future is whether it is possible to consolidate some of these funds, bring them together, so that in the end they can be very beneficial to those who are targeted. In finishing, Madam Speaker, I also just want to say that I'm concerned that I know that right now we are also talking about giving funds. These are not exactly special funds, but we are giving funds for people who are going back to school. And I know come September, a lot of people are in panic right now. Madam Speaker, one of the things that we need to do is we are having a lot of knee-jerk reaction of a lot of things in this country. Like I was just reading that even though people are complaining about the high cost of fees for university that most people will not be able to access. But then the government was belaboring to explain that there are vulnerable groups, there are poor people, there are I don't know what categories, but I've not seen any law that defines any of those things. So if you are not careful, I, Millie Odhiambo, might decide to declare myself as a vulnerable person and be given money as a vulnerable group because there's no definition. So if there's no definition, I might be vulnerable because I'm shorter than most people here, or I might be vulnerable because I am an orphan. My father and mother are dead. I'm actually an orphan. So, Madam Speaker, we have to be very careful when you have situations like that, that we have to put things in the law and in regulations so that we reduce incidents of corruption, of misuse, and poor governance, just as the committee has said. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee for a very commendable job and encourage them to continue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do support.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Phyllis Barto, member for Moiben.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I rise also to put my voice on this report and to thank the committee members led by the ABO Chair for Tuma Network for the full network for the wonderful presentation. Madam Speaker, yesterday there was another motion almost similar to this on the report from the Auditor General auditing institutions, and this one is auditing special funds accounts. And I start to feel scared, Madam Speaker, because most of the recommendations or the findings is that the officers in charge are not able to submit documents. They don't have, it's as if most of the people who serve in these spaces are not competent because they have no records. For example, if you look at recommendation number 1, sorry, part C, we have, we have late submission of documents. Madam Speaker, there is an officer sitting in office and is not able to submit documents, and yet they are benefiting from government funds. Madam Speaker, we have cases of inaccuracies of financial statements. What brings these inaccuracies? Is it a case of the funds not being utilized properly so that they are not able to account on time? We have unresolved matters which relate to prior years, weak internal control systems, grounded assets, and so on. So, Madam Speaker, you would sit and ask yourself, where is the problem? It has been noted that some of these funds, there's people, they are not well resourced, that they have few people who are working in those, who are handling such funds. They don't have capacity, they don't have enough funds, and so on. So if a fund is created, Madam Speaker, it should be well structured and well planned so that it does the work which is supposed to be, it is utilized for the right purpose. Madam Speaker, the case of UWESO Fund and the Women Enterprise Fund, when I look at the case of Moiben constituency, you look at young people who would be benefiting from this UWESO Fund, youth, but they are not accessible to this money. Some even don't have an idea that such a fund exists. Even for a member of parliament, you have to visit that office many times. You don't even understand what is their role. Some will give you false reasons that we have given out, we've dispersed this money, they are not refunding, and so on. Where were you when this money was not being returned? We have the case of Women Enterprise Fund, Madam Speaker. You find that in my constituency, the women are very eager to put their hands in some fund to do something. They have very good ideas. They are very vibrant groups, Madam Speaker, but they don't have access to this money, yet there is a fund created for such activities, Madam Speaker. And we are even establishing the ASLA fund. If this money is not well planned, like it will eventually end up being like this WESO fund, Women Enterprise Fund, and so on. So it's high time as a country, Madam Speaker, we sit back and relook at the entire funds and look at what is meant for, what is it supposed to be doing? We look at WESO fund. What is the mission? Where has it, how far has it been? How far has it achieved its objective? We look at the Women Enterprise Fund, and we also look at the officers who are serving in these particular offices. Do they have the capacity? Do they understand? So that it is not just a case of somebody getting a job, sitting in an office, having a title, like one of the honorable members has said that some have very big titles, but when you look at the job description, it's as if they really don't know what they are supposed to be doing. Otherwise, we need to move with speed and secure these dockets so that our people can benefit. A case of the National Research Fund. If we still receive such reports that there are inconsistencies in records, there are vehicles which are grounded, it's like nobody really cares. It is a government thing, so it's not my business. So why don't we put these people to task? Because they are serving in very critical positions in government, Madam Speaker. What really pains me as a member of parliament is when someone who is serving in an office brings or presents documents which are inaccurate. What do you think about such a person? Why would such a person even still serve in office? We have weak internal control systems. When the systems are not are weak, basically, it will give room for corruption. So, Madam Speaker, how I wish that we streamline such dockets so that when we put government money, this money does what is required to be, is utilized for the right purpose. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, if nothing is done, I'm really worried about these funds which we keep on creating, these special funds which we keep on creating, and we don't see the end product, or it is not being utilized to the best of the ability of what the fund was created for. So I think I rest my voice from there and strongly support the members of this committee for a well-done job. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this particular motion. Honourable Speaker, I thank the committee for doing a good job. I thank them for presenting the report also very ably, and the report is very clear. Honourable Speaker, declared funds are some of the resources that most of the Kenyans use, and most of the Kenyans in the rural areas where we need a lot of development. These funds are connoted development funds, Honourable Speaker. But development in the sense that they are supposed to be utilized to cause specific actions that may need, which results may be termed as development. Honourable Speaker, the auditing process is important and it's a condition by law. And we realize that the Auditor General, when they produce this report, is supposed to be consumed back by these community groups, and they're supposed to know exactly what they need to do. But the management of the fund, in some cases, as highlighted in the report, has shown some weaknesses. And we want to caution that they need to up their game in view of releasing the reports early and making sure that these reports follow the law. The PFMA Act, the Public Finance Management Act of 2012 specifies many things. The Act is very clear, Honourable Speaker. The Act gives the guidelines on how to do these reports.
Honourable Mutunga, the Speaker is male. The Speaker is not Madam Speaker. Or I didn't hear you right.
I said Honourable Speaker.
Thank
I
you
actually desist from using Mr. or Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Because I know you can have a mix-up sometimes.
Thank
Honourable
you,
Speaker, I'm saying that the PFMA Act is very, very clear. It gives very clear guidelines on what kind of, reports to prepare, when are they supposed to be prepared, the quality of these reports, Honourable Speaker, the levels of inclusivity in these reports, and so on and so forth. But then it has taken so much time for some of these funds to perfect in presenting quality reports. And this is something that we need to caution the management unit of this fund. Honourable Speaker, the committee has also cited the fact that these funds, and of course we all know, and I would like to point out this as my own contribution, they are supply-driven. Supply-driven in the sense that we do not have demand for these funds eliciting consultations that we need to supply. Honourable Speaker, a supply-driven initiative does not realize quality in terms of the products. We need to belabor to create demand. And in creating demand, we need to go out and educate our people on business planning. I do not know the extent to which we have invested in business planning education. This is something that needs to be looked into, and therefore we need to appraise our people on the intended investments so that they may think through where are they looking for this money. When they get this money, sometimes, in most cases, you realize that they just utilize the money for merry-go-round. And then at the end of the day, they pay this money using other sources. It doesn't necessarily go to a business process. It may go to a normal livelihood support system. If somebody is a farmer, they may take these funds, buy fertilizer, and put in their farming process. But we need to engage our people to look at the entire value chains, if it is agricultural, and therefore look at when we have the best opportunities to give us the best returns, and they can invest in some of those areas. Honourable Speaker, one of the members has mentioned unsupported costs. This is an issue that I've had experience in, especially with respect to Women Enterprise Development Fund, the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, the Ways of Fund. In most cases, the officers managing these funds have had to request for support from some other sources to be able to run their businesses, to be able to organize conventions for release of the checks and so on and so forth. I think that issue needs to be looked into. Even if we want to give Kenyans money at low cost, we need to also realize that the processes do cost some money, and therefore it is important for us to provide for such. Honourable Speaker, it is important also to look at, instead of just looking at the access to funding, we need to look at the management of the fund itself after access. There is need for qualification of those who take this fund. Who actually qualifies to take this money? Who is, in other words, who should benefit? What are the characteristics of those who should benefit? For youth, let's say youth who are 10 to access 100,000 shillings in a group of 10, and I don't know whether the social development offices allow such small groups to be put together. Such a group individuals in such a group would have 10,000 shillings. Investment of 10,000 shillings are not, in most cases, viable. Therefore, we need to look at, based on the business idea that those who are requisitioning this money are targeting, we need to see how do we enable them to basically support what they are saying they want to do. Because in most cases, those who request this money have got a good business idea. And if it is not fully funded, then we have a problem. the amounts themselves are low, and it is group access. It's not individual access. In most of them, it's group access. Apart from the research fund, the National Research Fund, which is demand-driven, there is a research proposal, there is quantification of the various activities that are supposed to be done, and the costing of these activities. And therefore, the researcher may get enough money to do the research because they are enlightened. What about those rural people who have not been enlightened sufficiently to be able to come up with such documents? We need to be able to support them in a way that we realize it's a group access for individual utilization. And if it is individual utilization, what kind of activities do they want to finance, and whether this money given to them is enough. Honourable Speaker, I support adoption of this report and thank the committee once more for doing a good job.
You need more time, Honourable Mutunga? If not, well and good. The Honourable Dr. Lillian Gogo.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker and grandson of the great land of Asumbi. I celebrate you, Council. Allow me to rise and support the adoption of the report from the Committee of Special Funds that is chaired by the one and only 5-bar network, the Honorable Fatuma. I celebrate you, my sister, and I want to probably interrogate a few things for purposes of contributing and representing the great people of Rangwe constituency. It mesmerizes me, Honorable Speaker, when we have to interrogate use of special funds to the extent, Honorable Speaker, that there could have been, or there is a possibility of misuse of funds. If there is a possibility, an audit query or an audit report on the misuse of special funds by people, specifically Kenyans, whose charge has been put to these special funds, Honorable Speaker. What I'm asking, Honorable Speaker, why are Kenyans stealing from the poor, Honorable Speaker? Why are we stealing from the poor, Honorable Speaker? Why are we stealing from the poor? Why are Kenyans enriching themselves at the expense of people who we are supposed to take care of as leadership at whatever echelon of leadership, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, we have special funds that are established by law and policy to take care of special needs. I would not say that we need to merge Uwezo Fund together with Women Enterprise Fund. We merge it together with Youth Enterprise Development Fund. We merge this fund together with Strategic Food Reserve Fund. We merge Equalization Fund. We merge National Youth Service. We merge Civil Servants Housing Scheme Fund. We cannot merge these things so that we have a bigger fund for the imbeciles who position themselves to steal from Kenya, to steal from poor Kenyans. In any case, if we must, Honorable Speaker, if we must merge these funds, we can only merge them so that we can apportion part of these funds, Honorable Speaker, to subsidize the education which is going to be unaffordable for poor Kenyan children. I want to say this, Honorable Speaker. The education, higher education, middle-level education is being structured through reforms such that the ordinary poor Kenyan from Rangwe constituency is not going to study civil engineering. Is not going to become an architect. It's not. Let us merge these funds instead of us having it stolen by some morons. Put put it on NGCDF and watupatie, let them give us this money we give to poor Kenyans as bursaries. Honorable Speaker, we have young people in this country who require the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, Honorable Speaker. And allow me to laud one young youth who is showing large signs of being a sure leader of today, not tomorrow. I want to talk about the Honorable Mercy Tarus, who has come out to tell people who are stealing from the poor on their face that they are smooth liars, they lie with innocent smooth faces. And I'm telling you, Mercy Tarus, I want to go on record as a member for Rangwe constituency. Fight on for young people. Create your space. You said that you sell Uji. Mercy Tarus, go to the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. They are going to give you a loan. Enlarge your Uji business, and God is going to bless you, my daughter. Why are we stealing from poor Kenyans, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, we have a strategic food reserve trust fund, which is supposed to take care of and mitigate food insecurity matters in this country. We have a strategic food reserve trust fund. How many Kenyans die of hunger? It will not be long before we see, Honorable Speaker, Kenyans, vulnerable Kenyans who are supposed to depend on us, to whose charge we have been put, die of hunger. When there is such a noble fund, what happens? It is mismanaged. Reports are brought before time. Accounting officers don't want to give authentic reasons when they are audited. I thought, Honorable Speaker, that auditing is supposed to improve systems. Auditing is not supposed to be punitive, Honorable Speaker. Auditing is supposed to know how systems work, how systems need to improve. We need to identify system gaps through audits. But what happens when the accounting officers, when they see auditors, they run away? Why? Because they know there are flaws in their books. We need to flush these people out, Honorable Speaker. I want to say we need to flush these imbeciles out and rid Kenyan of thugs.
Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo, your passion is appreciated, but the word imbecile is not parliamentary.
I withdraw, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, withdraw and find a suitable replacement.
A suitable replacement for imbeciles and morons, Honorable Speaker. These are people who are stealing from the poor.
Order, Dr. Lillian Gogo. I imagine you want to use the word corrupt, because moron is also not parliamentary.
I appreciate you, Honorable Speaker. Can I use the better word, thieves, Honorable Speaker? Because thieves is parliamentary, Honorable Speaker. What I'm saying, great grandson of Asumbi, who is a speaker on the table today, I am saying Kenyans need good leaders, focused leaders, leaders who are people-oriented, leaders who take Kenyan people at their interest. We need leaders, Honorable Speaker, who would want to put the country to the next level. Honorable Speaker, it is not about passion. It is about facts. For the time that I have been a leader, Honorable Speaker, I have interacted with people who literally want to steal from the public. It is not about my passion on what I'm talking about. I am talking about what I have palpated with my own hands, Honorable Speaker. The structure of government is to the extent that it can take care of its poor people, Honorable Speaker. And that is why these specific funds are established. And most people who stay in high-ranking government offices are well paid. But the more people are paid, Honorable Speaker, the more they want to We need as a country to rid this country of thieves who target special funds. We must do that as a nation. The executive must address that, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say, leadership should stop rewarding their relatives with special funds, Honorable Speaker. We need to target the poor. We need to help the poor, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, from the point where I stand, as Dr. Lilian Achieng Gogo, I will stand with the poor, beginning with Rangwe constituency. I thank you for the time, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lilian Gogo. Do we have Honorable Titus Lote, MP for Kachaliba?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I stand to support the report by the Special Fund, my attention is drawn to the Equalization Fund, part of the report, Mr. Speaker, and to take cognizance of the fact that when the Constitution of Kenya 2010 was enacted, there was a special article, Article 204, Section 1, that talks about the Equalization Fund, Mr. Speaker. This fund, in essence, was supposed to bring to speed some parts of this country, 14 counties to be specific, that had been marginalized historically by the governments that were there. And these counties were supposed by now, Mr. Speaker, to have actually caught up with the development levels of the other counties. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, looking through the history of the Equalization Fund and the report that has been tabled here, I have a lot of doubt as to whether we were serious when this side and this article of the Constitution was enacted, Mr. Speaker. The constituency where I come from is in one of the counties that has been marginalized, actually extra marginalized. Mr. Speaker, to let this House know, Kachaliba constituency was not part of Kenya up to 1972. So we are new Kenya. In fact, we are now marginalized by history and we are marginalized by the system. But up to now, this Equalization Fund that was supposed to bring special services such as water, health, road, and electricity has not done anything. In any case, it becomes a case where we are given hope by this fund only for the spirit that we had to survive without this is killed. And so we become more vulnerable when we are told that we've got a fund that is supposed to bring you to speed to development and this fund is not made available. Mr. Speaker, may I look at the following before I submit? The Equalization Fund is supposed to be based on the most recent audited accounts of the revenue received. And if you look at the table that has been provided in page number 63 of the report, Mr. Speaker, out of the 6 trillion shillings that we've received and audited since 2011, in the financial year 2011-12, all the way to the financial year 2019-2020, Mr. Speaker, 30 billion was supposed to have actually gone for this Equalization Fund. So far, only 12 billion had been transferred, giving us a balance of 18 billion that was supposed to go to these counties, Mr. Speaker. It seems that this House is not in any speed to actually see that this funding is given to these counties. Because if I look at the report from the accounting officer who submitted, he said that Parliament has approved an outstanding amount of 13 billion, which comprises of 6.8 billion for the year 2021-2022 and 7 billion for the year 22-23. That makes it 13 billion. And that is what Parliament is approving for disbursement now, forgetting, Mr. Speaker, that we have a balance of 18 billion, which is supposed to be first of all dispensed before we now approve other monies. I wish that the committee look at it and put more energies to ensure that before even the 13 billion is actually disbursed for the year 2021, 22 and 22, 23, they need to see to it that the 18 billion which had been appropriated and was not disbursed because of a court case needs to go. So that is one of the strongest recommendations that I needed to see, that we have 13 billion for 2021-22, 22-23, plus the balances of 18 billion. So equalization fund is supposed to be a total of 18 billion plus 13 billion, Mr. Speaker. But I think the report has not mentioned that. And finally, Mr. Speaker, there is some incoherence in terms of how the report has been submitted. I look at the submission to the committee by the accounting officer of the equalization fund, Mr. This got a name. I cannot, there's a name for that equalization fund. It's called Mr. Guyo Boru. And also a misstatement or a statement by the Principal Secretary, National Treasury. While the chief officer says that considering that the years that we've lived, the total entitlement for the equalization fund for those years since the Constitution was enacted is supposed to be 54 billion, Mr. Speaker. But if you look at what the PS says, it says that the entitlement is supposed to be 30 billion, Mr. Speaker. Where are we speaking from? Are we serious in terms of how we keep our records? I'll wish the committee to give us the figure. Is it 54 billion entitlement or 30 billion entitlement? Because if it is in a report like this and it is not mentioned properly, I think the report could be misleading. Mr. Speaker, with that, I really submit that let this fund go to the counties that are supposed to be. Let it go to the people of Kachaliba constituency. We do not have water up to now in this particular time of the year, and we've got funding lying here. We do not have roads. All the electricity poles that had been put is lying down. Nobody cares. And we are talking about equalization fund, and we are giving reports. This report will only be in paper until this committee submit and ensure that this fund is doing what is supposed to be done as per the Article 204 of the Constitution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Lote, the substantive Speaker of the House, the Honorable Moses Wetangula, had given directions on the intervention by the Senate on this fund. I hope when it comes up, you will speak as eloquently so that the fund can actually reach the targeted regions of the country which have been marginalized for very long. You know the ping pong which has been going on between the National Assembly and the Senate over it. So I hope all members, just like you, together with you, will heed what the advice that our Speaker gave last time. The Honorable Francis Sigei, MP for Sotik, former Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also ventilate on this very important report. I want to, on the onset, support this report. Many speakers have also mentioned the shortcomings, but Mr. Speaker, I want to say the committee has done a very good job. Why, Mr. Speaker? Because in the past, and I'm the first time in this house, in the past we used to have only one PIC committee which was dealing with these audit queries. But Mr. Speaker, I am in the PIC, Governance, Education, and Governance. And Mr. Speaker, what these committees have done is to bring out several issues which are actually an impediment in implementing government policies. First, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. I'm the MP Sotik, and when I took over the seat, I made a decision to invite the three of these funds, Women Enterprise Fund, Youth Enterprise Fund, and also WESO Fund, to come to my constituency and at least enlighten my people on what they do. What came out, Mr. Speaker, is that our women in Sotik don't even know about this existence of the fund. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, there is a lot of problems. In fact, one of the things, number one is lack of awareness. Number two is the amount of money given to these women, and even the youth enterprise. It's so little that, Mr. Speaker, it may have very little impact on our people. I think the issue of these special funds was actually to improve the lives of our people in the rural areas. But, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it has done much. Mr. Speaker, we need to address the issues of structure, the issues of capacity of these people. In my area, Mr. Speaker, even people who are manning this Women Enterprise Fund are not even known. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to look at, I want to support this committee, but we need to look at the legal issues. What are these fellows doing? The audit questions, audit queries, these fellows cannot answer. They cannot answer. So we want to support this report, but I want to recommend, Mr. Speaker, that we go out of our way to even dig deeper on these funds. Like what my colleague was saying about the equalization fund, it is an issue which is serious. And this, the government, a deliberate action to make sure that those areas which were behind in terms of development are given special attention. But, Mr. Speaker, I would like to see, particularly the equalization fund, has it had an impact in this country? We need to know, and I think we'll go more than what the committee has done, to really go and study what is it that they have done in these regions, which are semi-arid and arid areas. Mr. Speaker, I would like to see a change. Mr. Speaker, I also want to see the issues of officers who man these funds. Where are they? What are their the qualifications? Are they visible down there? At least I can tell you, in my place in Sotik, I have not seen these fellows, but I would like to see them. But I think I want to also mention, Mr. Speaker, that there was wisdom in creating these funds. But I think that what has happened is that we have left these people to run their own businesses, to run what they want to do what they want to do without regard to law. So, Mr. Speaker, I want us to support this committee, but go deeper and ask about issues of governance. What is it? What is the leakages? Because I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, a lot of leakage is happening with these funds. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to laud the committee and ask them not to despair. We are supporting you. But we want you to go deeper and look at the legal issues, look at the structure, look at the capacity, and also look at the impact of this. Because, Mr. Speaker, what we are doing now is only to look at mainly to look at the audit. We need to know what is the impact of these people. Because I think even for youth fund, we need to look at this fund as a seed money for our youth. Have we gotten any impact in terms of trying to give these young people the capital? I don't think. Mr. Speaker, I think we need a lot of work to be done on this area. So, Mr. Speaker, I really want to support this committee. I also want to say that those who created these funds had wisdom. There was wisdom in this creating of the funds. But the problem is the management, which we must address. We cannot condemn all the funds without addressing the issue of the governance. I think that's the area we are going to discuss. But, Chair, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sigei is speaking from experience. As the Honorable Canon Dr. Naomi Wako prepares, would we have Honorable Badi, the MP for Jomvu?
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia fursa hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza nataka kupongeza wewe mwenyewe kwa kazi mzuri sana ambayo ulitufanyia pale Uganda wakati ulipoenda kutuwakilisha katika mambo ya kupinga mambo ya LGBTQ, na uliongea Mheshimiwa Spika mpaka Rais Museveni mwenyewe akajua Kaluma ameingia ndani ya Kampala. Mheshimiwa Spika, nachukua fursa hii kwanza kupongeza sana kamati hii ya audit ama ya ukaguzi ikiongozwa na Mheshimiwa Fatuma ambaye ametupa ripoti yake hapa kikamilifu. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nampongeza sana mwenyekiti kwa ripoti yake ambayo ameweza kutupa leo, kwa sababu ametupa ripoti ya kina. Na katika ripoti hiyo ambayo ametupa kina tumeona mambo mengi sana. Kwa hivyo mimi mwenyewe binafsi naipongeza kamati yote, Fatuma akiwemo kama kiongozi na vile vile kina Catherine na wengine wote. Vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kusema kuwa kamati hiyo ukaguzi imeangalia juu ya mambo ya Uwezo Fund, Youth Enterprise Fund. Vile vile wameangalia Equalization Fund na nyingine nyingi sana. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesikiza wanenaji pale maneno ambayo walikuwa wamezungumza ni kwa nini hizi pesa pia zinapotea. Na mmoja wa wanenaji akasema kuwa engefikiria kuwa hizi zote ziwekwe mahali pamoja. Wajua mimi nasema kitu kimoja. Ikiwa Mheshimiwa Spika anasema pesa zinapotea kwa Uwezo Fund, zinapotea kwa Youth Enterprise Fund, Equalization Fund na nyingine. Leo mwizi huyu ambaye waiba pesa hizo tukimwekea zote kwa pamoja, sio muona mwizi huyu utakuwa anaiba pesa zote, sasa atakuwa tumwekea kazi rahisi ya kuiba. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi kitu ambacho nataka niseme nikiwa mjumbe wa Jomvu ni kwa kuwa hizi zote zibaki vile vile, lakini pesa ziongezwe zaidi. Alafu kama vile alivyosema Mheshimiwa Sigei, ni kwa kuwa yule alianzisha mambo haya alikuwa na nia njema, lakini usimamizi hivi sasa ndio ambao unafanya mambo yao ambayo haeleweki. Kwa hivyo hizi pesa zibaki kwa Uwezo Fund vile vile, Youth Enterprise Fund, Marginalization Fund, Equalization Fund, zote zibaki vile vile, lakini ziongezwe alafu kuwe na usimamizi ambao utakuwa ni mzuri. Vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia mahali kama kwenye Uwezo Fund, mimi leo Mheshimiwa Spika nataka kukuzungumzia Mheshimiwa Spika Kaluma, tumetoka mbali pamoja. Nimekuwa katika bunge hili kutoka mwaka 2013, 17 na sasa 22, vipindi vitatu. Mheshimiwa Spika, nakumbuka katika mwaka wa 2017.
Naona ndugu Mheshimiwa Waitana na kuangalia anafikiri hiyo ni uongo, hajamini tumekaa hapa.
Mheshimiwa Waitane, Mheshimiwa Spika, niko naye katika kamati moja ya uchukuzi ya transport, na bado naendelea kumfundisha kidogo vipi atapiga vipindi vitatu kama vile kijana mwepesi Garange di Mabiori, mzee Fulangenge na Kaluma walivyopiga vipindi vitatu hapa. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Waitane, usio na shida, mimi nina hakika utarudi kwa kipindi cha pili. Kwa hivyo usishangae, ni kweli pia wengine watakapokuja watatoa mfano kama huo kuwa ni kweli kama Mheshimiwa Kaluma alivyosema. Mimi Mheshimiwa nataka kusema ule ukweli, pesa za piano za Uwezo Fund. Lakini shida ni kwa kuwa baada hizi pesa ukitaka kutafuta vile vikundi vilivyopawa pesa vilifanya mradi gani, huoni. Ndio maana mimi Mheshimiwa Spika, ilipokuwa mwaka 2017, pole ulimenikata kidogo, nikaita timu yangu ya kampeni, nikasema vikundi vingi tulivyopatia pesa mpaka wakati huu kuna haja gani ya sisi kufanya kampeni, kwa sababu wengi tumeshakuwa tumewapatia pesa na wameweza kujikimu. Lakini juu ya usimamizi huu mbaya ni kwa kuwa watu wanaosimamia katika board juu hawatuletei wale maofisa wa kutosha wa kuweza kuzunguka ili kuona ni vikundi gani ambao vimeweza kupata pesa na kuweza kuendelea. Vile vile hiyo ndio inasababisha vikundi visiweze kulipa pesa ili vikundi vingine viweze kupata pesa zile za uwezo. Mheshimiwa Spika, mpaka leo ati ukiuliza katika mambo ya Uwezo Fund, Youth Enterprise Fund, watu wako kuna matatizo ya constituency ama eneo bunge lako, waambiwa ati faili yatafutwa. Mpaka leo katika mashirika haya bado tumeenda katika ulimwengu wa dijitali, wao mpaka leo wana mafaili wanachakura ambayo imejaa vumbi. Kwa hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni lazima iangaliwe mambo kama haya, na ndio maana ripoti hii ambayo imeletwa na dada yetu Fatuma, ambaye hakulala usiku na mchana kuona kuwa naweza kuiangalia ili tuweze kurekebisha mambo haya. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi kuna kitu kimoja nataka niseme, na wala hiyo si siasa, ni ile ukweli. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna Youth Enterprise Fund ambayo inalenga mayouth wetu ambao hawajiwezi, na hao mayouth kabla kupewa pesa huwa vetted first, wakawa wanaangaliwa ni gani ambao wanaweza kupewa pesa zile. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni yale makundi ya mayouth ambao hawajiwezi ndio wanapewa pesa hizi ili waweze kujiendeleza, wapate kujikimu kimaisha. Lakini unaona badala yake saa hizi kuna Hustler Fund. Hustler Fund, ukikaa ndani ya nyumba yako, uwe tajiri usiwe tajiri, una uwezo wa wewe mwenyewe kutumia kidole chako na kupata kile pesa. Kwa hivyo hivi sasa nataka kusema pesa zile zaweza kumlenga ambaye hajiwezi na zaweza kumlenga yule ambaye anajiweza, lakini tunataka pesa hasa zilenge wale ambao hawajiwezi, maana wale ambao wajiweza wenyewe wana pesa zao. Leo mimi ni mbunge kwa awamu yangu ya 3, Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi nataka kusema kabla awamu ya 3, Mheshimiwa Spika, 2007 mpaka 2013 nilikuwa diwani. Kwa hivyo leo nina miaka 16 katika uongozi. Hii maneno ya Enterprise Fund na nyingine, kwa nini simwachie mtu mwingine hali ya kuwa mimi nina uwezo ambao naweza kujisaidia? Kwa hivyo unaona hizi pesa za Hustler Fund zinasaidia hasa watu ambao sio wale walengwa, ambao sisi tunataka kusema wale ambao ni walengwa wao waweza kusaidiwa kupitia kwenye pesa hizi. Mheshimiwa Spika, leo kenda kwa Youth Enterprise Fund na Uwezo Fund, mimi nataka nikwambie kwa practical example ya kwangu Jomvu. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wataka kupewa pesa, najua mwanzo wanafanywa vetting. Baada ya hapo wakifaulu, kabla kupewa pesa wanafanywa training. Hakuna maofisa kufanyia training. Hakuna. Na leo Mheshimiwa Fatma hapa asema good, pamoja na Catherine na timu yao hapa, kwa sababu unasema ule ukweli. Inabidi leo kama mimi kwangu Jomvu, Equity Bank inaongozwa na ndugu yangu Bwana Kanyi ambaye CEO wake ni James Mwangi. Leo tumepartner na Equity Bank, ndio wanatufanyia hizi trainings juu ya management of funds. Lakini leo kazi hii ilikuwa nataka ifanywe na maofisa hawa ambao wanapeana pesa hizi. Na ndio maana unakuja gundua vikundi vinajikusanya tu, pengine hata ni ofisa fulani akuta watu wake 10, kumbe majirani zake wengine mademu wake magirlfriend huko anawashikanisha pale hivi, anatoa mistari ya kutongoza kupitia kwa pesa za Youth Enterprise Fund. Mheshimiwa Spika, na mambo haya lazima tutoboe, kwa sababu mambo haya si sawa sawa. Rusha mistari yako kisawasawa, lakini usitumie hizi pesa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu rusha mistari. Naam.
Kutongoza naambiwa sio neno la kutamkwa bungeni, manake nini? Au utaibatilisha na neno gani?
Hii ni kutongoza, ni kurusha mistari, Mheshimiwa Spika, ili yule msichana ambaye ameshindwa kukubali kwa njia ya maneno watumia fedha ili ndio aweze kukubali. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa haya mimi nashukuru kunipa nafasi hii, na nashukuru kuiunga mkono ripoti hii ya hii kamati na kusema kuwa ikizingatiwa sawa tutaweza kwenda mbele. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Asante sana. His Honorable Canon Reverend Dr. Naomi Wako ready, or we, we recognize you.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm ready to give my input to this. I want to support the report from the onset and also congratulate the chair, Mheshimiwa Fatuma. You've done very well. I must congratulate you for doing this, and you have presented it in a very good way. That is why we are here to support you and continue with that spirit, because for some of us, the sky is the beginning. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, this report is what Kenya needs today. putting into consideration the many challenges that our country has gone through. And especially when we know very well that this report covers the area that most of us belong to, and especially women reps, because special funds, the women fund, the youth, and everything, and people living with disability, the affirmative action, this is all under us. And many are the times that some of us cannot even know, do not even know how to get access and how to help our people to get access to these funds. Mr. Speaker, the report has brought out the weaknesses, the challenges that has been there. And if we put in order all this, and if this report gets the attention that it deserves today, then we are sure that a lot of transformation will take place, some things will change, and we will be able to overcome the challenges. Mr. Speaker, the report speaks about equalization fund. The report speaks about women enterprise funds, strategic food reserve, and when we look at ourselves today, Kenya does not have food. We are importing food. And just some few months ago, many of us were in crisis because we couldn't get enough food even to feed our people. If this particular strategic food reserve trust fund is taken care of and well utilized, I know very well that we wouldn't be where we were just before the rains. Mr. Speaker, when you look at Women Enterprise Fund, a lot of mismanagement has taken place. Women who needed to do business in all this have suffered because they cannot access the funds that are there. Sometimes it is the rich who get the money and enrich themselves. The poor who would have been uplifted and who would have reduced the poverty levels in their lives are still there struggling. We are talking of youth enterprise, they cannot support themselves. Some are at the age of starting their own families, but because of the financial constraints, they cannot even imagine of having a girlfriend, live about marrying a lady. Mr. Speaker, if all these funds were well utilized, the idea of Kenya, or what we have been crying about, at saying we are reducing poverty, and we want to overcome poverty in our counties and in our villages and in our